Hey Browns fans, this is your chance to join the company of some of the Browns' all-time greats on the first ever Browns fan cruise. Picture this. For 5 unforgettable days, you're sailing across the beautiful Caribbean Sea, reliving the Browns' greatest moments, getting autographs, snapping photos, and celebrating on the beach with your favorite Browns alumni, like Josh Cribbs, Webster Slaughter, Eric Metcalf, and a dozen others. Book now and take advantage of our easy, budget-friendly payment plans on this once-in-a-lifetime, all-inclusive cruise adventure. The clock's ticking, Browns fans. To book your cabin and for more information, visit brownsfancruise.com or call 216-284-6472 today. Browns Fan Cruise, where diehard fans and Browns alumni come together for the trip of a lifetime. Don't wait. Secure your spot today. And go Browns!
It's time for the Burning River Sportscast. Well, folks, this season's got more ups and downs than a jackrabbit orgy. Not only are the Browns testing the gods each week, most of the rest of the league is giving bipolarity a run for its money. 8 lead changes, 4 Gardner Minshew turnovers. Myles Garret basically caught a field goal. What the hell is going on? No one knows, but it all ended in a dub, and 4-2 is all that matters in this moment. But in the moments to come, serious questions still remain about our $230 million paperweight. More confusing communications from the Browns front office declared he's cleared to play. He's being rested. His rotator cuff may be more damaged than we're ready to admit. Truly, no one knows. And that's a frightening path to follow when you have a 4-2 football team that looks poised to make a big push. If only they had a quarterback. And so here we are, on to our backup running back with an XFL quarterback leading the grind. Can this team continue to pull rabbits out of asses? And will the reality of hard knocks in the NFL finally catch up to Kevin and the boys? We'll break it all down for you next on the Burning River Sportscast.
Let's go! We will have sex in that Prius again. It will happen. Bone! How hard are you?
Super hard.
If I loved men in that way, he'd be my guy.
When was the last time we got a call?
Yeah, let's make up a story that makes sense at least. I mean, I will hear you that the NFL is crooked and then maybe there's something going on, but in favor of the Browns?
Yeah.
Speaking...
I don't want to hear it. The refs literally blinded one of our players with a flag before, so...
That actually happened, and Brady Quinn comes out with this fantastic one-liner. How about we massage this conversation and get it to a happy ending? Does that sound satisfactory? Oh, man. So just completely shits on Deshaun Watson through Quincy Avery. I mean, it was one of the better exchanges I've ever seen on Twitter. What were you doing?
I was doing 50 and a 35 at like 4:56
That's
in the morning.
weak ass.
Yeah, on a 4-lane road
F
in
that.
Stowe, and it was wide open in like an industrial district, so he let me off, so that was nice of him.
Can't cancel us.
No.
Never. Welcome into the Burning River Sportscast, presented by Tappan Media and brought to you by the Cleveland Browns Fan Cruise. Joined as always by my cohort and the only man capable of rubbing his belly and patting his head with no hands. And the big bone man on the board today, straight from his latest dig in his own backyard, where he unearthed a mind-blowing number of stuffed animal corpses. Big Bone, what the hell is going on over there?
My daughter had way too many stuffed animals, so we did a burial.
You buried them and then dug them up?
Yeah.
Why?
It was, I felt bad, you know. So.
I have more questions than answers.
All right, back to Ronnie. 2 questions. If you could do it, put your back into it. Before you knew it, who would you choose to interview on the next Burning River Sportscast about the Cleveland Browns Fan Cruise?
I'd probably do it with Greg Pruitt.
Nice. And number 2, why does your head look like a smushed up potato?
That's messed up, man. I'm not Josh Dobbs. Come on.
And where can all of our Swished Up Potato Lick friends find?
Oh, now you think you can ask 3 questions.
Burning River Sportscast.
You can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, Good Pods, and so many more. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube, our YouTube, not just YouTube, but our YouTube, the only place that you can find our video podcast. And you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handle for those and our YouTube is at Burning River Sportscast. And we're on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, with the handle Burning River Pod. While you're at it, check out our merch. You're on the internet anyways, so you might as well. www.thetapinmedia.com/shop. We've got shoes, hats, mugs, mouse pads, shirts, shorts, flags, phone cases, soon to be some cold weather gear. We got the cruise line. It's all there. We keep adding more. Just go check it out and buy something.
Buy it.
But we do have another monster show for you today. See what I did there? It's Halloween week.
Oh, nice. Is it Halloween week now, or is it next week?
Yeah.
Trick or treat this Saturday.
Is it this weekend? Yeah.
Nice. Just about time for Joe Thomas's favorite famous Halloween party.
Yeah, which we hear about all the time, but we've never actually attended.
Do you think he's still doing them?
Yeah, but he's got to be, right?
Gotta be.
I
don't know. Maybe Myles has it now. He
it is Myles Garret that has it now. But yeah, it's still a thing that happens in Cleveland. But anyways, like I said, another monster show for you today. We got the week 7 recap of a heart-stopping, jaw-dropping, cardiac episode, make you want to drop a load. Super exciting win over the pesky Indianapolis Colts. We also have an interview with the Seattle Browns backers and an interview with another Browns alumni that will be joining us on the Cleveland Browns fan cruise in the second half of the show, as you mentioned.
Mr. Gregory Pruitt.
There he is. And finally, we have the Week 8 preview of the game against the Seattle Seahawks. So get ready, because it's about to get bumpy. Let's start things off with the Burning River News Story of the Week. All right, so Bobby, the dog, a purebred Rafeiro do Alentejo from the Portuguese village of Conquiros, died this week. We're starting it off on a sad note, guys.
Very sad.
He was the oldest dog ever known at 31 years and 165 days old. That's right. 31 years and 165 days old.
He's almost as old as us.
They do weird calculations for dog years now, so that comes out to approximately 84 years old, if I'm not mistaken, in dog years.
Yeah,
is that right, Bone?
I think that's right. Yeah, that's what the Guinness Book of World Records has.
In the olden days, that was like 200 dog years.
Yeah, because they just multiplied it by 7. It was simple,
Right.
simple math.
Times it by 7.
They don't do that anymore.
The quantum mechanics allows us to get a better, more accurate depiction there.
Yeah, but he was a farming dog. The breed that he was has a life expectancy of 12 to 14 years, so he doubled that.
He won.
And some. And Bobby was a survivor. He was part of a litter of 4 puppies. The owner killed the other 3 puppies because the farm already had enough dogs. Now, this is normal in other cultures. I think it's absolutely disgusting, but that's not the point of this story. So, Bobby escaped during this process and hid in a pile of wood. He survived the rest of his life with this family. They allowed him to live, apparently, after that.
You have to, right?
And he ate exclusively human food.
Yeah, right over there.
I'm dying over here.
He also drank
believe it.
plenty of water, it was said. So
Plenty of water and lots of human food. So Bobby the dog was an absolute dog. And hopefully he made it over the Rainbow Bridge and is living a better life now. Well, a better afterlife, I guess you could say.
What gets better than human food and water every day?
I don't know, but there is a silver lining to this story. The new oldest living dog is none other than Ohio's own Spike.
Wow.
Damn it. Spike is a 23-year-old Chihuahua living in Camden, Ohio. O-H-I-O. Hell yes. So,
do you think we can get Spike on the show?
Why not? I get a lot of crazy interviews.
Let's see if we can reach out. Let's get Spike on the show.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
We'll ask him how he feels about being the oldest dog in the world.
Yeah, so that'll take us to the Week 7 recap. All right. So, guys, the Cleveland Browns, they did it once again. Once again, the Kardiac Kids are back, and with XFL and not really any offense to be found, and a little bit of help from the refs, We defeated our opponent this week. And I say they defeated their opponent. I'm not part of the Browns.
We're not affiliated anyway.
But this time it was the Colts. So let's go ahead and do what we always do. We'll start with the Indianapolis Colts. Score of the game, by the way, 39-38 in a nail-biter.
All the way down to the end.
It was wild. But the Indianapolis Colts, let's start on their offense. Gardner Minshew played surprisingly well besides those turnovers, which we'll get to. It's going to be like this all day, folks. I got an infant in daycare, and she brings home lots of dirty germs. But anyways, Gardner Minshew, 15 of 23, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 carries for 29 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 fumbles lost. That's the big one there. So he actually played. I mean, like I said, besides those fumbles, which were strip sacks, so I mean, there's not a lot you can do as a quarterback.
No, not when Myles, Garret, and company are hawking you down.
Oh yeah, it was rough.
He was getting beat up. He had a long, hard day. But no, truly, I mean, look, he played about as good as Gardner Minshew should play, and for a guy that's a backup in the NFL, he played pretty well other than the turnovers, and that's often the reason you want to lose a game.
Yeah, and then so Jonathan Taylor here, 18 carries, 75 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 receptions for 45 yards. Jonathan Taylor actually looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
They did say they were going to start giving him more and more carries. He's now been back with the team for 3 weeks, so it was kind of expected that he would get more of a normal workload. And I mean, he's starting to look like the old Jonathan Taylor. So
well, there was a lot of offense in this game, and I think both running backs there had almost 20 carries. So.
Yeah, and that's a good segue here. Zach Moss, 18 carries for 57 yards. And, I mean, Kevin Stefanski should take notes because when you have a quarterback that's not your starting quarterback, this is kind of the game plan, right? You should run the ball 36 times.
Yeah.
And then next up here, Josh Downs. He had 5 receptions for 125 yards and a touchdown. Really was finding holes in the defense pretty much all night.
Yeah, I mean, I said last week, that he was the one guy I was kind of worried about gashing this defense because he's a littler guy, so he can get kind of lost out in the shuffle. And
gash, that's a funny word.
And he's super fast. Yeah, we actually passed on drafting Josh Downs for what's his face, our receiver.
It's never good when we pass on somebody to draft what's his face.
Tillman,
who's been hurt.
Cedric
I don't
Tillman.
really understand that. He's got a hip problem, I think, is what's going on. So
we said we don't want Josh Jones. We'll take Cedric Tillman. He won't play.
Well, yeah, I don't know why he's not playing. He should be playing more. But anyways, Michael Pittman Jr., 2 receptions for 83 yards and a touchdown. Didn't do much, but he had 1 big catch for a touchdown. Yeah. They gave him basically all of his stats. So.
And truthfully, one of Josh Downs' big catches was on the offsides penalty that we just
gave up. We decided we weren't going to play anymore.
We forgot football for a minute.
Oh, yeah. When you go offsides, you got to keep going because they get a free play.
I don't know if you guys are going to talk about this later, but Myles just stops on those plays.
Yeah,
he does. I wasn't going to talk about it because we're talking pretty highly of Myles today. But I mean, I agree with you. It is something that is very frustrating. He just completely stops. And if you keep rushing the quarterback, who cares if your sack gets taken away? If you sack him, he can't do anything.
I imagine the coaches have addressed that, and he's addressed it in practice and film. Because I mean, if it's a free play, you got to continue after the quarterback.
Yeah, you can't just stand there and be like, "Oh, damn, they got me." That's not going to do
this one out.
Yeah. But anyways, the defense for the Colts: 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, and then their special teams. Matt Gay was 1 of 2 on his field goals and 5 of 5 for extra points. So solid day out of him. And that'll take us to the Cleveland Browns here. So on offense for the Cleveland Browns, we'll start with Deshaun Watson because he was back and playing, or so we thought. 1 for 5 for 5 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception. That's right. He completed as many passes to the other team as our team before he went out and was injured yet again. We're not going to get into that right now. We're going to have a whole Deshaun Watson discussion later, so I'll just leave it at that for now. Move on to P.J. Walker, who took over for him. 15 of 32 for 178 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 carries for 3 yards. Look, P.J. Walker did not have a great game. But again, somehow he did enough to at least allow us the opportunity to win in the end.
You know what it reminds me of is Tebow mania and Tebow time. Like,
if this was Tim Tebow, people would be losing their shit.
But the book on Tebow was always that he wasn't really a great quarterback, but he came in and he won football games. So there's something calming about PJ being on the field with the rest of this team. But he's not a good quarterback.
No, and I will say to your point, when he's out there, if nothing else, and we've mentioned it already in past shows, he runs the offense. He never seems like he's flustered. Like even when he turns the ball over a couple times in a game or whatever, he comes back and he's kind of calm, poised, collected. He keeps the team on track.
He's not butt fumbling. He's not, mishandling.
That's always
snaps.
bad. You butt fumble, it's over, man. But yeah, so like I said, he did enough, I guess. But here's the deal. Here's what we've gotten out of PJ Walker the last 2 games. 33 of 66 for 370 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a QBR of 25.1, and an overall rating of 48.2. So imagine if we had any semblance whatsoever of a quarterback back there.
I've seen Kirk Cousins do that in 1 week.
Yeah, I've seen him do that in like 3 quarters. But no, I know I'm coming down hard on PJ Walker here, and it's not really his fault per se. He's a backup quarterback.
He's been put in a position that he shouldn't be in.
Right, and there's a reason he isn't a starter. He's had chances other places, and there's a reason he's not a starter. We do like PJ Walker, but he just isn't that good.
What's fascinating about him is like no part of his game is really strong.
No.
Outside of the fact that when he's on the field, that offense seems to
I think that's how he's
calmed down a notch.
I think that's how he's found his way in this league. Is he's just a decent leader on the field.
But he doesn't have an overwhelming arm. He's not a fat. He doesn't run the ball. I expected this guy. From an XFL background.
Yeah.
I thought in his size and his frame that he would just kind of take off from time. But he's a pocket passer through and through.
Yep.
He had 1 or 2 good throws. He had that throw against cover 2 at the end, towards the end of the game on that last drive.
Oh, that one was
in between 2 defenders. It was
beautiful,
an absolute dart.
That was one of the few times in my life I actually heard the announcers had to talk about it for.
It was a great throw.
A few minutes. They were like, "Wow, that was incredible."
But he doesn't do that very often.
No,
that was lightning in a bottle.
Rarely.
If he threw the ball like that all the time, it'd be great. But he doesn't. And yeah, look, by all accounts and all metrics, he's the 32 out of 32 ranked quarterback in the NFL. He's not very good. So this team has to. I know they just signed him today to a 1-year deal, which they should have done after he beat the 49ers because it's just
pretty messed up that you made him wait a week.
Just shitty that you.
If you lose the next one though, you're going back down to the practice squad.
Strung him out like that, but look, we got to do something about this quarterback position because you can't.
They do have to make a trade or something, which we'll get to that too.
You can't just leave PJ.
But he's just. Here's the deal, and this says it all. For the season, the Browns' efficiency ratings by unit are: defense is ranked number 1 in efficiency. Special teams, this is actually surprising to me, is ranked number 2 in the league in efficiency, and their offense number 31. So, I'm just saying, we got to do something.
Yeah, because you don't have Nick Chubb back there to be your safety blanket anymore. So you have to have somebody that has some competence in throwing the ball and moving the offense.
Absolutely. And speaking of running backs, the Browns running backs, we'll start with Jerome Ford here. 11 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown, but he was injured in this one, and he is out 2 to 4 weeks with the dreaded high ankle sprain. And
that was a deceiving stat line because he
had
1 big run, and other than that, even Kareem had a very similar kind of stat line that looked better than it was.
Yeah, and no, I actually have that in here, is that everyone's kind of talking about this as like a really big loss, Jerome Ford, which it is in the sense that he's our number 2 running back now that has gone down.
Well, yeah, he's your starting running back, so that's never good.
So that's not good, but I don't know that it's as big of a loss as people think it is. I've talked a number of times this season about how I think Jerome Ford has had a lot of hype, and I don't know that it's actually warranted. And to your point, outside of that long run, he had a long run. Like you said, it was 64 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Outside of that run in this game, he had 10 rushes for 5 yards. That's 0.5 yards per carry.
And maybe you say that's what makes him dangerous is he has that big play, big break ability that he can score a touchdown on any given play, but you can't just run the guy 20 times a game because he's going to break one.
Yeah, no, that's not a good plan. But I will say I do think as far as me saying this isn't as big of a loss, I think what this does, well now, and I guess Kareem's dealing with an injury now too, but before Kareem's injury, I would say it gives him more opportunities to be that number 1 running back again. But now he's dealing with an injury, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's amazing to me this team is 4-2 because they've been
it doesn't make sense.
Bitten by the injury bug all over on the offensive line, in the backfield, to star caliber players. And this team continues to roll somehow.
Yeah, they do.
And
you
it's just frustrating because, like in any other year, God, if you were 4-2 to start the season and you
I'd be pumped, but
had
I'm
the
like,
talent,
this is weird.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not sure what to make of this season yet.
Yep. But Kareem Hunt, though, in this one, 10 carries for 31 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the big one at the end to win it. Bone, I believe this was your player to watch, Kareem Hunt was, or was it yours, Kenny?
That is mine.
Yours? Bone, who was yours?
I think it was Kenny. I think mine was Marquise Goodwin.
Oh, yes, it was, because he got an end around, which we didn't even talk about. We'll talk about it later. I'm not going to bash Kevin Stefanski too much today, but end around for 17 yards. The difficulty of the play, about a 37 out of 10, and he got 17 yards. So I digress. But yeah, your player to watch, Kenny. So that was big.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns
and obviously
in the
doing
game.
just enough on his one good leg there at the end of the game to get across the goal line.
I think it's funny that like they gave him the game ball at the end, and Stefanski called him like the old man. Because
He said on one leg, didn't he?
yeah. In a room of like 28-year-old guys, like he's the oldest guy. Like,
So decent game out of Kareem there with the 2 touchdowns. Our wide receivers, not a lot of work to be had. So, they did make some key catches down the stretch, but overall, I mean, nothing too special.
the good thing is that they put themselves in position to be fouled at the end of the game, to have penalties thrown against them. So that was about as good a work as they did all game long.
Yep. So that takes us to the defense. The defense finally came down to earth in this one, I will say. I wouldn't say this is like a dominant effort by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they gave up 38 points. I know some of that was on the offense, field position, those types of things, but definitely not the effort we've seen all season long from them. But the great thing about this game is all season long we've been begging for for them to force more turnovers, and in a game where, like I said, they weren't as dominant and as stout as they usually are, they were able to get those turnovers, and they got a bunch of them.
Look, and I don't even know if this was a bad game for the defense. I just think the game played out differently than we anticipated because we've been holding quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs to such ridiculously low numbers. Yeah. It's the NFL. Look, there's still good athletes out there. This was Jonathan Taylor's first big week back, getting actual work. I just think that they made big plays, and some of those big plays were, like I said, the very first play where Myles went off sides and everybody just stood there.
The whole team just watched the play.
I mean, you're below 75 yards on that one play.
Yep.
And you think about that coming out of the rest of their totals, like, okay, it's not as bad. I still think all the same good things that we saw for the beginning part of the season, body swarming to the ball, great pursuit angles, defensive pressure up front, getting to the quarterback and disrupting his rhythm. All those things were still there.
Yeah,
they just were able to get in the end zone and score this year.
I agree, and kind of like you said, same words to describe the defense this week as I've used every week: confident, disruptive, and relentless. I mean, it's just week after week.
And this week they came up with turnovers, like you said. So,
yep. And what have we said? Kind of. Especially these last few weeks, as Deshaun's been dealing with his injury, it doesn't matter who the QB is when you have a defense like this. But it would be nice if we had a somewhat
any corner and back.
I mean, just imagine.
Yeah.
But obviously, the defense goes as Myles Garret goes, and he had a huge night.
Monster.
2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a blocked kick, 9 tackles, but I'm not going to get too far into that because we're going to talk about him again soon.
I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the fact that he literally caught a field goal. Like, I thought he was going to catch it and house it. He was in the backfield.
When he first blocked it, I legitimately thought it was just in his hands.
He hurdled the center. I think if you touch the center, that's a penalty.
You can't touch him.
I don't know.
As long as you don't touch him, it's okay.
Yeah, that was wild.
Airtime over the whole group.
Like, what an idiot that center is, though. All he had to do was stand up, and then he's like, haha, penalty. And he couldn't do it. But anyways, Denzel Ward, an interception and a pass defense, and he recovered the block kick. So Denzel Ward, big day for him. Tony Fields, a second fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Fields sighting. It's always exciting to see Tony Fields do something big. So not hurt, doesn't want to play. Came back too early. I don't even know what's going on with him. But bottom line is he's not on the field. He's without the best running back in the world. And now without that running back's backup. We've had piss poor play from the offensive line this year, including a bunch of injuries. Jed Wills has been Jed Wills. So, whatever's going on with the offensive line is happening. And yet we're still sitting at 4-2 through 6 games, despite all of these things. And we look like a pretty good football team. So as much as I still am going to call him Kevin Stefanski, and I'm still going to get on him when he makes bonehead calls and weird play calls that don't make any sense, we're doing something right so far this season.
The thing is that you can't just change your stars in a week, right?
No.
And we've seen Stefanski screw up so many times over and over again that it's hard to just go, okay, well, you finally did something good, so we're going to reward you. But I'm with you in that this was one of his better weeks. With all the things stacked against him in this game, and where I'm going to give him props really is on the final drive of the game.
Yes. I know people hated it in the moment.
Because I'm thinking to myself, what am I calling here? And I was indecisive. But in the moment, you can't be. The clock's ticking. You're going to have one timeout or no timeouts left. You get down to that 20-second mark where you got, hey, we could run the ball twice or what are we going to do? And by all accounts, you scored a touchdown and won the game. So he made the right calls at the right time.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't a perfect drive and didn't end, it wasn't like clean. It was messy, dirty football, but it was the right calls at the right time.
Yeah, and so no, I mean you're absolutely right. It was all the right calls at the right time. And Myles Garret even said it after the game. He said, I think it was Myles Garret that had that interview that said, I was questioning it at the end of the game. I was like, what are we doing? Why don't we just run the ball in? And then it turns out Kevin Stefanski knew what he was doing, and he made all the right calls at the right time.
Some kind of plan.
And he said, we want to basically have that. If we're going to need to run the ball, we want it to be one opportunity and done. And I mean, what people don't understand, and by people, I mean everybody watching at home, you run the ball, let's say on first or second down, and we have 30 seconds left. Have you watched people in the NFL at the end of games just like lay on the ground and lay on the football and lay on the ball carrier and just waste time?
It's one of the most frustrating things that happens in an NFL game.
It should be a penalty every time.
It should be a penalty, and the refs, for whatever reason, let that go.
Yeah.
And because the players, it's usually like 3 or 4 seconds, but if they do it on every play at the end of a drive that has a minute left.
Even with that, like I said, on first down, even, if you run a play and don't get in,
slow playing by
you
6
run
seconds.
the risk of not getting another playoff.
Right.
So, I mean, I would agree. In the moment, I would have been indecisive.
Yeah.
In the moment, I probably would have, honestly, I would have attempted to run it sooner, and it may have cost us the game. So
I was in the same boat. I was like, just give it to Kareem and let him ram it in.
I was more on the QB sneak front and do the tush push like the Eagles. But
that's true. But who knows if they even practiced that because your $230 million quarterback said he was going to play this week and took all the snaps on Friday at practice. So, I even heard that he didn't even get to watch film with Stefanski. Deshaun and Stefanski watched film together, and then Deshaun briefed PJ about what they had watched and talked about. So just a disaster all the way around in terms of preparation. But in the moment, I can't argue with the results of what they came up with.
So we're giving this one to Stefanski. Still calling him Stefanski, but
we'll call him Stefanski this week.
Stefanski.
He got an S back.
Nice, Stefanski. So good game for him this week. Jim Schwartz. I mean, how many times did you text me throughout the game to say thank God for Jim Schwartz?
If I loved men in that way, he'd be my guy.
Look, this defense, even on a day when they didn't stop everything like we're used to seeing them do, it was so fun to watch them. Like they were wreaking havoc all night long, all afternoon long at least. But it was phenomenal. And Jim Schwartz has them playing at a level that I didn't even know was possible for a Browns defense to play at.
I just love when the camera pans to Jim on the sidelines, and he's hands on his knees. He's just so
hands on his knees.
He's so invested in the game.
That's 2 shows in a row.
he just looks like he's ready to go out there and kick ass himself. It's like you never see Stefanski.
What are you doing?
I'm
kicking my ass.
Stefanski's always buried in that play sheet, and Schwartz is in the game.
Yeah,
at every moment.
He's like, I don't play sheet. Never heard of her. But he is getting the most out of every player. And seriously though, look at JOK. Look at Anthony Walker.
JOK looks like a legitimate linebacker now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Anthony Walker.
Yeah.
Look at Grant Delpit. Nobody's been able to get him to reach his potential. He's having a monster year.
Yep.
Look at Obo Okoronkwo. Everybody knew he was decent, but he's having a phenomenal year. Hell, look at even Myles Garret. He's gone from being obviously a dominant defensive end to he is the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year right now.
And I think what's different about it is that we've said, we live in Cleveland.
Yeah.
We've said that every year that Myles has the talent and the potential to be Defensive Player of the Year, hell, MVP of the NFL type talent.
Yeah.
But now that talk is starting to happen around the league, on your mainstream news sites.
And it's no coincidence that it's the first season that Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator here.
Yeah. I mean, he's got everybody turned the fuck up.
Yeah. And they still rank at, or even after giving up some points this week and giving up some yards, they still rank at or near the top in literally every statistical category for a defense. There's no doubt about it at this point. This is a championship defense. 100%. Absolutely.
If only they had a quarterback.
There's not much else you could say about the defense. So we'll move on to Bubba Ventrone. There was a blocked field goal in this. There was good returns in this. I mentioned it earlier. They are the number 2 most efficient special teams unit in the league. Way to go, Bubba.
What I didn't like this week was the return of DPJ to punt returns. I don't
know why he returns punts.
I thought that was growth last week when we saw some turnover in personnel there, having someone else return kicks, but maybe that was just because DPJ was dealing with an injury or something, so they didn't want him out there on the field, and they were trying to protect him a little bit. But
I liked the break that we had from DPJ returning punts.
DPJ just doesn't need to be back there.
I think at this point they're trying to justify him still being on the team because he's not good this year.
But at this point, all your receivers really haven't. I mean, Amari's been.
They haven't been given a chance.
Right.
Like other than Amari Cooper, they haven't been given a chance. Our $230 million guy is sitting out, and I
can't blame DPJ for his lack of productivity when I don't have a quarterback to throw him the ball.
I agree, but so overall in this game, total yards: Cleveland 316 to Indy's 456. First downs: Cleveland 18 to Indy's 20. Time of possession: Cleveland 27-29, Indy 32-31. So up to this point, you're thinking Indianapolis definitely won this game. But this is where the areas that the Browns actually have lost most of the time this season, they won in this game, and that's penalties. Cleveland 4 for 20, which is a very good stat line.
Well, and think about last week, they would give 11 penalties for like 125 yards.
Yeah.
So big difference.
Indy had 8 for 67, and then turnovers, Cleveland had 2, and Indy had 4. So they won the big 2, and that won them the game this week. Real quick, a couple discussions I want to have coming out of this game. One, I will say the refs finally helped us out for once, huh?
Yeah, look, there was 2 really highly visible defensive plays that went against Indianapolis at the end of that game. The first one was the illegal contact on Amari.
Which I know we talked about this off air, and you said it. You thought it was a little ticky-tack. I don't argue the ticky-tack call, but the bottom line is that was a penalty.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. I agree. I said it was ticky-tack. I think Amari made as much contact with him as the defensive back did. But here's the thing. We're often on the other side of getting a ticky-tack penalty, and for 23 years we've seen it go the other way. So,
well, and the only reason people are so up in arms about that one specifically is the fact that it ended up getting fumbled and returned for a touchdown, and that got called back. But here's the deal. It doesn't matter what's going on in the backfield. It doesn't matter what's going on anywhere else on the field. If you make a legal contact past 5 yards, it's legal contact past 5 yards.
Right.
So that one was legit.
Yeah. It's not like the ref saw the return for a touchdown. It's like, I'm throwing a penalty. He already threw the penalty.
Right. Like it was already out. People act like that's exactly what happened, right. And it's just not.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
So yeah, I mean, that call was absolutely legit. However, this is where things get dicey. The pass interference call, I'll be honest with you, it was a god-awful call, and the ball was absolutely uncatchable. But here's what I'll say about that is I know Bone Man and I had a discussion earlier today, and I was saying, everybody likes to be upset about this, and that's all that everybody's been talking about since Sunday. However, that pass interference happened on 1st and goal. it only moved the ball up like 2 yards. So we went from first and goal at the 3 or whatever it was, or the 4. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was right around there, to first and goal at the 1. And you still had 4 plays to try and stop them. So, I mean, honestly, did it really decide the game? I don't know. I don't know if it decided the game. I don't know if 2 yards decided the game. I mean, it could have, but I'm not going to sit here and say that absolutely was the difference in the game. I'm just not. I don't think that's the case.
Well, and that's a loser's lament, anyways, right? I mean, the penalties are never the reason you lose a game. Are there bad calls in every game? Yes, there
absolutely, and they mostly go against the Browns.
We're usually the benefactor of such calls.
I just like how everybody comes out of the woodwork across the NFL and likes to shit on the Browns because we finally got a call.
And here's the thing: I don't even think that was that bad of a call, because to me that one was clearly an arm tug that went on for 2-3 seconds. And was it a catchable ball? Yeah, maybe not. But I think if he didn't tug on his arm, I think DPJ makes an attempt to jump earlier and could probably touch the ball. I don't know if he was going to catch it.
So with that argument, at that point, you have to call pass interference, because who knows what would have happened. What if he would have tipped it, and while he's balancing and trying to fall down, he somehow bats it to himself and catches it?
I don't think it was totally unreachable if you got the right jump on it. I mean, God, forget these guys. Myles Garret jumped over a lineman. Like, these guys are athletes and can jump 42 inches vertically in the air. And that's without any kind of running start. This guy's moving full speed and looking at the ball. I wouldn't put it past him to be close. And if the ball's close, then it's not uncatchable. But the fact that he drug his arm and almost kind of like WWE style cranked it twice, like the old whip arm, it was clearly holding of some kind.
Well, that's the other part of it is like, okay, so you don't want to call pass interference. Well, it was holding, and in holding, if they would have called holding, it goes back to exactly what I said on the illegal contact.
Yeah.
Is it doesn't matter where the ball is, where it's going, none of that stuff. If you commit a hold, it's a hold.
Yeah, I mean, there's a play you can't have that play. You can't grab a guy's arm.
And guess what, everybody? If they call it a hold rather than a pass interference,
it's automatic first down anyway.
We're at the same spot. Yeah. Instead of being at the 1, say we went from the 3, we're at the 1.5.
And I just think the call for the ball to be uncatchable has to be so conspicuous that the ball lands
basically in the stands,
the bench area or the stands. But man, I just, these guys are superb athletes, and it was not a great throwing ball. But
what if David Njoku would have came over and stood on his hands and knees, and DPJ ran up and jumped off of his back and caught the ball and came down in bounds?
I don't think that was that necessary, but I just think that it wasn't as bad as like people made it out to be. Like, would it have been a tremendous human effort to get up there? Yeah, sure. But these guys are tremendous humans. So.
Well, a lot of people would disagree with you, and I will disagree with them.
I would tell them to fuck them.
Well, you're talking to Jim Irsay, because Jim Irsay has called for the rules to change, and he officially wants replay on all penalties. He wants that to be an option.
Well, these games will last 7 hours then.
That's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, I think the refs are bad and make bad calls in every game. In general, yeah, probably.
They tried to take away a first down when they had a second look at it. So even the second look doesn't guarantee they get it right.
Let's go back to last week. Everybody forgets that it was caught on camera that the ball was past the first down marker, and they still told us we didn't make it.
Upon second review, we still got it wrong. What?
Yeah, so, I mean, everybody wants to talk like these things happen, and the Browns, the refs are with the Browns, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, come on. Like, it was scripted because they went with the Browns again. Like, when was the last time we got a call?
Yeah, let's make up a story that makes sense, at least. I mean, I will hear you that the NFL is crooked, and then maybe there's something going on, but in favor of the Browns?
Yeah. I don't want to hear it. The refs literally blinded one of our players with a flag before. So
that actually happened. Look that up in case you're not familiar. The dude, didn't he have permanent damage in his eye?
It was bad.
Didn't he retire?
I'm pretty sure he retired
a year or two later because he couldn't see out of his eye.
Hit him right in the eye.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and then the guy pushed the ref, and we got another penalty. In case anyone was wondering, we got a penalty for holding, and then we got a penalty for touching the ref, and that player got ejected. Lost his eyesight, ejected from the game.
Eye patch forever.
But I digress. Another thing I wanted to talk about in this game here was Deshaun Watson, and it's not just this game; it's in general. So I came into this week right after this week was over, and we saw Deshaun go out after five passes. And they said, you know what? Kevin Stefanski says, you know what? He wasn't ready. I'm going to hold him out the rest of the game. He passed. He got through concussion protocol. He's fine with his head, but I'm worried about his shoulder, so I just want to rest him. I just want to rest him this game, and we'll figure it out after that. So in my head, I came out of this game. I was like, you know what? I defended him for a while. I'm starting to lean the other way. I just want to definitively figure out where I'm at. And that's the craziest thing about Deshaun Watson right now is even when you want to go into this thing and figure out exactly where you stand on this, and you want to take I just wanted to take a firm stance and be like this. I want to decide and make a decision. I couldn't do it, and here's why. So Deshaun Watson, what I will say about Deshaun Watson is we need him back, and the numbers support that. Whether you love him or hate him, here are the facts. With Deshaun Watson coming into this game, we scored 24.3 points per game. We had 205.7 pass yards per game, 366.3 total yards per game, and 21.3 first downs per game. And without him, we scored 11 points per game. We had 123.5 pass yards per game, so about half, give or take. 250 total yards per game, significantly less there, and 15.5 first downs per game, so significantly less there. So he's definitely, obviously, an upgrade over our backups. But this also leads you into a deeper discussion, and this is where it gets confusing and how everything's always drama with Deshaun Watson. There's never a clear-cut answer since he's been with the Cleveland Browns. Is what's the deal with Deshaun Watson? So, it was mentioned on social media this week, and some people didn't agree. I threw it out there, and I said, if you're not at least concerned at this point that it was a bad investment, then you're either naive or stubbornly optimistic, right? I mean, you got to be. But since coming to the Browns, here's the deal. He's played 9 of 23 games. He's currently injured and probably set to miss more time, which we just learned today. Actually, he's missing this coming game. He's looked awful to start this last game. And in the 9 games that he has played, he's only had one good one, and probably a total of about 6 quarters where he's looked okay for the Browns. So, I mean, if you're not questioning whether it was a good investment, you really do have to be naive or stubbornly optimistic. And so, again, I'm stuck here. I'm right in the middle. I'm on both sides. Like, obviously, we need him for the offense, but on the flip side of that, was he worth the investment?
So some of those games were suspension, correct? So some of those were expected for him to miss.
Yes. The 9 of 23 includes the suspended games.
It's still a missed games though, regardless.
So take away the 12 games, right? That was a suspension. So he's 9 of I guess that's 9 of 11.
11 games he missed.
But even still, 9 of 11. He's already missed some games for injury, and he hasn't looked good in the games he's played.
He's looked good in one game, Tennessee Titans.
One game.
One game.
That was his only game that he was solid start to finish. He's had, like I said, I threw in a couple more good quarters because I can recall at least once or twice where closing out the game he looked pretty good in the fourth quarter or even like a third quarter to get us back into it. But really, it's about 6 quarters. That's what we got. And is that? I mean, we're almost 2 years into this thing. Is that worth $230 million? I mean, no. But at the same time, the numbers support that we need him in order to be a better team.
Even the numbers are deceiving because what if Jacoby was here as your backup? What if the trade was made for Kirk Cousins? What if Baker Mayfield was here?
And that is true. That's not something that I took into account in this when I was trying to do some research. Is we have ass backups this year. I mean, no offense. I say that, but we do like Dorian Thompson-Robinson. We do like PJ Walker. We just don't think either of them is really ready to take on extended time at this point.
That's another discussion because I think it's hard for a rookie quarterback to get experience when you don't let him play. So there's that. But and on the flip side of that, PJ Walker is not very good. He's not good. He's not an NFL quarterback. But I think that the numbers with any other middle-of-the-road average quarterback or average backup in the NFL probably look similar to what you've gotten out of Deshaun on the field with the Browns when he's looked when he's played, which isn't great. I mean, you called him an injured Baker Mayfield earlier in the year was kind of what you were getting out of Deshaun.
And I still, again, during this whole thing, that's kind of where I landed is we've gotten B- Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. I think. Look, I've tried to be a good sport about this. I've tried to be. Look, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan first through and through. You root for the name on the front of the jersey, not the back.
Yep. And I still believe that. I will believe that till the end. But.
So I've tried to swallow my medicine with Deshaun Watson and be a good sport and hope that he returns to form in the way that he could. My sneaking suspicion this whole time is that he'll never be the same Deshaun Watson you saw in Houston. That this will go down as one of the worst NFL trades of all time. Starting with the fact that what due diligence did the Browns do before making this trade? They took one flight down to Houston and said, "Hey, Deshaun, do you want to play for us for guaranteed money?"
For a team that prides themselves on analytics, it really legitimately seems like it was 100% the eye test. They were just like, "Yeah, he's pretty good."
Yeah, I mean, what due diligence did they actually do to where they went down there and said it was this whole thing got so petty and political over Stefanski versus Baker and Barry and who was going to take the fall for the last season. Instead of just thinking about how do we win football games, how do we sustainably build and win a championship team here, we said, you know what, we'll sell our soul, we'll eat the undisclosed amount of women out there that want to take Deshaun down, and we'll deal with all that and put our fans through all that because the trade-off will be we have an unequivocal upgrade at quarterback. And when this guy hits the field, they're going to see. They're going to see. And we haven't seen a lick of it.
Nope.
I mean, I'm look, he's unfortunately he's your cross to bear now for the next couple of years. There's no outs really in that contract unless you just are prepared to eat it. I'm prepared to just eat it, right? I mean, if we're going to move forward with the XFL anyway, because Deshaun doesn't want to play, because Deshaun's mashed potatoes upstairs, because of all the things that he's been through over the last 2 years, I said from day one, I'm worried about this guy's mental fitness and mental countenance because that's just a lot for a young man, a young person to go through, whether it's true, whether it's false, whether the truth lies somewhere in the middle.
I mean, his whole world was just flipped on its head.
There was either way, whether it was Deshaun or the girls that were involved, the whole thing was fucked up. So, and it was fucked up on a national scale in front of a national audience, in front of everyone and their brother. And it did. It turned his entire life upside down. So we've talked at length about other athletes who have become the bad guy or had things happen to them that weren't great and how it affected their careers. I think this guy has the permanent yips now. I don't ever see him returning to Deshaun Watson form. I'm ready to just eat it and call it a day because I want to win and win now. But I don't think
that's where my frustration comes in is exactly that is I'm also ready to win and win now. But on the flip side of it, I don't know that it's time to give up on him yet. And it's just really freaking hard because, like I said, none of these things, like it's not black and white with anything when you look at Deshaun Watson statistically, when you look at whether it was even, worth it to bring him in. Like we don't even have a good sample to go off of. 23 games in and we still don't have a good sample to go off of to make that determination. And that's a problem. And it's just so hard to at least for me, I mean, I know obviously you're ready to move on, but for me, it's just so hard to make a decision one way or another. And I'm still kind of stuck in the middle after thinking about it all week long.
Well, I just think we've all had to separate Deshaun, the football player, from Deshaun, the person. Yeah. And that was one thing. That was one battle we all had to fight as Browns fans. And the thing is, again, we were told on the field.
Well, and now we're supposed now
upgrade.
So we already separated him, Deshaun the person, Deshaun the football player. Now we're being told to separate Deshaun the potential versus what Deshaun actually is right now.
Well, right.
And so we're trying to figure that out, and we keep being told keep looking at the potential, but
I just think that
it's starting to get to the point where you can't look at the potential
and
anymore.
I just think with the guaranteed contract and the way that it's been written, I think the incentive for Deshaun to ever be Deshaun again doesn't exist. Why would you put your body and your mind on the line if you didn't have to? You know, a guaranteed contract like that only exists when you have a guy who's willing to put his heart and soul out on the field every day for his teammates and for the game because they love it.
Yep.
You had a guy here that did that, and you ran him out of town. So I don't know.
We'll get into
does Deshaun want to be in the same fate? Does Deshaun want to go out and say, "Sure, I'll play hurt and play like ass, and then they'll just run me out of town too"? I mean, you almost can't blame the guy. But I just think that so much of this is around the mental health of Deshaun, his ability to be a leader, and I don't think he has it anymore. I remember, and I think probably most guys that when a sport finally passes you by, when you finally feel like you can't play it anymore. I remember the first time I lost a sprint, like in high school, and I was kind of like, "This is probably the end for me. Like, I'm just going to have fun with this now, and I'm done." Because I'm not prepared to put the work in at this point in my senior year to get faster again. Like, this is as fast as I'm going to be. At some point, you realize that. I think Deshaun's realizing that in real time, that he's not going to be the Deshaun that he ever was before, and the game as he knew it has passed him by, and now he doesn't know what to do with himself.
Fun fact, Kenny was fast once.
Fast ones, yeah.
So fast.
Bone, what are your thoughts on Deshaun at this moment?
I'm still, I don't know. It's such a...
Are you with me? You're just still you just can't figure it out?
I feel like he's actually hurt. I feel like he has an issue with his shoulder. He looked like such... just trash.
Well, the balls that he was throwing at the beginning of this game were garbage.
Right, and I feel like he was trying to play. I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a football player. He wants to win for his team. He's got other guys counting on him. I don't see how you can look your other teammates in the face and just be like, I'm going to dog it.
And Quincy Avery, his personal quarterback coach, who we'll talk more about just in a few minutes here. But I mean, even he's saying like, look, the guy wants to play. He's a competitor. Like, that's what he is. As much as all these people want to drum up these conspiracies, he wants to play. But I see it from both sides.
Yeah.
I do see the argument from both sides. Like, your contract's guaranteed. What do you got to play for?
I agree.
But on the flip side of it, I wasn't getting paid, so there's that added wrinkle into this thing, obviously. But I've played football, and I don't care how hurt I was. I want to play.
Right.
And
yeah, but you still loved the game. You didn't have 23 sexual assault cases thrown in your face.
I agree with you. I said there's a big wrinkle that's added into this.
You got to go back to before he signed the contract. Before he signed the contract, he didn't know how much money he was going to have to pay to settle these deals.
Nope.
We still don't know. He could have took half of that and said, "Okay, you know what? Let's settle these court cases. I'll put up $100 million. Just quiet it down."
Yep. That's all fair. I mean, but Bone, so you're kind of with me. You're still on the fence here. You're not sure.
I'm on the fence. Yeah, I don't know who he is as a person.
I will say
I can't speak on any of that, but from what I've seen him on the field, it's not good. He's had that one game against Tennessee Titans, and I want to see more of that, because that's going to benefit the Browns, the team that I love. And I had high aspirations for Deshaun when they brought him in. I'm like, oh, he's a top 5 quarterback, for the Houston Texans. How do you just lose that? But as Kenny's pointed out, his mental state, I'm kind of with him on that. Like, you go through all that. That's a lot to handle. National media, everybody's hating on you, calling you all the names.
There have been stories about it in the NFL how he used to be friends with so many people across the NFL, and he's kind of universally hated across the NFL now. So I mean, that's another thing to weigh on you. Is I lost all my friends, I lost everything. And no, I will say this: each week that passes that we don't see him return to form or even come close to it, it just tips me more towards this whole thing wasn't worth it, and he is done, and we need to move on. But I'm just not there yet.
I just think it's hard to be wrong. Think about how frustrated we get if we call something wrong on this show that very few people listen to, except for the people that are all going to go into Browns fan cruise.
Yeah.
This show, when you get a take wrong.
Oh, like you lost King of the North, and you're pissed.
And you're frustrated. Think about being the guy whose entire lifestyle was put on the world stage to see until that's wrong. Because he didn't think there was anything wrong with it at the time.
Roger Goodell called him a monster.
I mean, he obviously had no problem with...
I'm sorry, he didn't call him a monster. He said he was a predator.
Well, so on some level, right, there was some kind of predatory mindset here, right? This guy wasn't going into massage envy saying... my shoulder really hurts. He was targeting women on social media.
He probably should write about now, though, because he's got a problem with his rotator cuff.
Well, yeah. But he was targeting women on social media that really weren't a part of, stood up practices. They're like, hey, do you want to come rub me down? Like he saw no problem with the way he was living his life, and then all of a sudden, everybody in the world is saying,
literally everybody,
you got something wrong with you, man. Like his whole lifestyle was put into question.
Yeah,
that's not just are you good at football or are you bad at football. That's everything. Are
you a good human being? Everything
that I know about myself is like, oh God, who am I as a person now?
Yep. We could talk about Deshaun all day, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about him as the season moves on. This story obviously is not over. It's actually probably just getting started. He's missing another game this week against the Seahawks. So, like I said, we will revisit this. But let's move on to other Browns. In other Browns news, first of all, I know I took a jab at Jed Wills earlier in the show, but he actually didn't look like ass these last couple of games. So I just want to say, I'm not saying he looked good. He just didn't look bad. So it's probably not good that that's news, but, I just want to say Jed Wills hasn't looked terrible the last two games. And along with him, somebody who's actually looked phenomenal on the line, Ethan Posick, hasn't allowed a QB pressure or a sack in 2 games. Not a single pressure on something stupid like 80 or 70 some dropbacks or whatever. He hasn't allowed a single pressure.
Yeah, not surprising about Posick. We know he's good. A little bit surprising about Jed Wills, but, you can't be ass all the time, right?
True. Next up, Chase Winovich retires from the NFL. Oh, Chase Winovich, we barely knew you.
Barely knew you.
Happy trails to Chase Winovich. The time that you were here was uneventful because you didn't play much, but it was still fun having you. I was excited when you were signed.
He was one of those guys that I was really high on.
And he was hurt.
This guy's going to be a monster in the NFL, and just apparently,
he was hurt the rest of his career, and
he's done.
Happy trails, buddy. Myles Garret has joined the Cleveland Cavaliers as a minority investor, and he said in his statement, to have the opportunity to join this impressive and purpose-filled franchise under Dan's leadership is truly a dream come true. Pretty cool that a current NFL star and one in our own city has invested in the Cleveland, Cleveland's basketball team. It's pretty awesome.
It's interesting, I think, on 2 fronts. It's interesting because, one, I think it says a lot about Myles and the way he really feels about Cleveland, which is, everybody goes into their franchise. And
we love it.
We love the dog pound. We want to hear him bark and all this stuff. But so much of it is lip service because it's just good PR. Where if you're taking your own money that you've made and reinvesting it into your city, and
even as a minority owner, that's big money.
Sure,
you're
it's millions of dollars on some level. I mean, it's and Myles is $100 million, so I guess $5 or $10 million is not a huge number to him, but it's a big number. So I think it's really cool because I think it says a lot about how Myles feels about this community, and I think it shows that even after he's done playing here, that he's probably one of those guys that will maintain a home here, and even if he doesn't stay here all year long, he'll be around, which is cool. Secondly, I think we're getting into some really dangerous territory here with current players, and their ability to own other sports franchises, or
it just came out that Caleb Williams wants a stake in the team that drafts him.
Was Caleb Williams wanted that as a part of his draft day deal, that he wants a stake in the ownership?
Which that's not the first team that somebody has asked for that. It's been turned down and they've actually ruled on it that it's against the rules in the NFL to own.
When they started that with franchise. Tom Brady and the Dolphins, when that whole thing went down. So, but I think we've seen tremendous success that guys was Leo Messi has had with the deals that he has, and so these players want that. But I just think it's think about the ticky-tack stuff that they're busting these guys for on DraftKings and draft day bets, and all of a sudden you're a part
run a whole organization
of a sports franchise. I just think it feels weird, and I don't know exactly legally.
I think as long as they stay out of their own league, I think it's
just
I don't mind
a little weird, and I have a huge problem with Caleb Williams coming out saying before the draft that he wants a stake in the NFL franchise, and then you go and blow your load against Notre Dame.
Well, I was going to say, don't worry. The next 2 games since he said that, he's been asked.
Right.
So
yeah, you don't get to call your shot. Finish your damn season, win a Heisman, and then maybe you can call some shots. But
Marvin Harrison Jr. is winning the Heisman, so you could suck at Caleb Williams.
If we throw him a ball enough, we probably would.
We throw it to him plenty.
That dude's unbelievable.
Yeah. That dude could catch 30 a game.
I agree.
You can run your whole offense.
I agree. I'm just saying they do get him the ball.
You can run your whole offense to that guy.
But anyways, moving on here. Another quarterback legend, and you mentioned Notre Dame just a minute ago. Another college football legend, I should say. Not a quarterback legend in the NFL. He was absolutely ass in the NFL. But Brady Quinn is getting into it with Quincy Avery, who I mentioned earlier, Deshaun Watson's personal quarterback coach on Twitter. And so basically, like I said, they started tweeting back and forth at each other. I'm actually going to read some of these off because these got pretty good. Saturday, I don't have anything I want to talk to you about. I'm telling you, you're talking about things you don't know. Talking on another man who doesn't know you is weak. Brady Quinn says, LOL, well, I didn't see you. Quincy Avery says, point being. And Brady Quinn comes out with this fantastic one-liner. How about we massage this conversation and get it to a happy ending? Does that sound satisfactory? Oh, man. So just completely shits on Deshaun Watson through Quincy Avery. I mean, it was one of the better exchanges I've ever seen on Twitter. And basically what I'm trying to say after this is our starting quarterback is hurt. We ruined our rookie quarterback. XFL is our current quarterback, QB1. People are calling for us to trade for a different starting quarterback. Former quarterbacks are trashing the franchise quarterback, and the Browns are back, baby.
4-2. 4-2.
The Browns are back.
In the midst of all that, they're 4-2.
Somehow, I didn't even mention our starting running back is out. Our running back 2 is out.
You're all pro right tackle.
Hall of Fame left
guard.
Yeah, it's just a shit show, and the Browns are here for it.
They are here for it.
So you know what that takes us to?
Oh my God.
That takes us to the Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week.
Doesn't matter, man. You got to play tough people in the National Football League. You got to be ready, and we got to be the dogs that we are every time we step on there on Sunday and be ready to attack and don't stop until we're in that locker room.
All right, so you know who it is. This week's Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week is Myles Garret. As mentioned earlier, 9 total tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 block kick. He now has the most sacks by a player in NFL history before turning 28 with 82. And he's got to be the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year at this point. He's the best player on the best defense in the game. Godzilla Garret is out there wreaking havoc and wrecking things. That dude is unreal, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what's frustrating is, like, we've always known this about Myles Garret. We've said it like I said earlier, we said it every year that Myles could be Defensive Player of the Year. He could be an MVP candidate. So, to me, it's frustrating that it's taken this long for him to get noticed as not just one of the top defensive ends in the game, but one of the best players in the game.
In general, I would agree with you. There have been some weird things that have derailed like certain seasons for him. I mean,
True.
He hit Mason Rudolph with a helmet once.
That was bad.
That was badass.
He's had some injuries. Bone loved it. It was Bone's favorite moment in the Steelers-Browns rivalry.
I mean, look, it does fuel the rivalry.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, you need those every now and then.
Yeah, you got to pop off every so often. You got to take his top off and then pop him with his top off.
And there's still some conspiracy there because we don't know what Mason Rudolph said to Myles. It's been said
the NFL says they didn't pick it up on their mics, but that doesn't mean it wasn't said.
It's been said that he made some racially derogatory remarks.
I don't see Myles Garret as a liar.
And it's the only piece of NFL films media that's ever not existed. Like, since they started with hyperbolic mics on the sideline, they've got every word of every game that anybody's ever said. Hell, they can't keep him from saying the fuck word on TV because it comes out so fast.
I hear it almost every game.
Every coach at least once a week because it just happens. So, but you can tell them, but those 12 seconds of whatever happened between Mason and Myles disappeared forever.
Don't exist.
Doesn't exist. Now, should you hit someone with a helmet after that? I don't know, but I think it's more defensible then.
Yeah. So no, he is absolutely phenomenal. And
he also got punched in the face in his car while driving. He also wrecked his car in the rain.
Weird things happen to him.
He's had some weird shit go on.
Yeah, but I mean, phenomenal this year so far. He's really it's looking like it might be the year that he does it. I hope so. I hope the defense keeps playing like they do. But Myles Garret, the Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week. And that takes us to the division roundup. We good?
Yep.
All right. So the Bengals were on bye this week, so they didn't have a game, which is good. Nobody wants to watch the Bengals.
No.
And then that takes us to Baltimore. Baltimore beat the Lions, and we were all wrong in this one. We all had faith in the Lions, and the Baltimore Ravens didn't just beat them. They humped them.
I don't even know what happened here.
What was the final score in that game?
Like 31-3 or 31-0.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was really bad.
It was really bad.
I'll say this. For the first time all year, Baltimore looked like he was firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and that's a scary thought.
They're getting some guys healthy. They're not all the way there yet, but they're getting some guys healthy. And Lamar looked great. And I just was surprised that the Lions were so inept in this game. Their offense has been pretty decent. Their defense has been really good. We talked about their coaching and how much we like it there. This was a bizarre. I almost had to just chalk it up to like this wasn't Detroit's day.
Yeah, and you do. I mean, you just don't have it some days.
Just for whatever reason, the game plan was wrong.
Yeah, and so the Lions lost this one. We were all wrong. Pittsburgh beat the Rams this week. Unfortunately, both Bone Man and Kenny gained a game on me there. I picked the Rams in this one. I thought. I don't know.
Zach saved me. He swayed me.
I always go with Mike Tomlin. I always say when it's a 50-50 game, you go with Mike Tomlin, and I didn't do it. And it cost me. So you guys were right. I was wrong. And then finally, Cleveland obviously defeated Indianapolis, and we were all right on that one.
We were all just as close to being wrong.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's a close race here, guys. I'm at 9-11. Kenny is at 5.
Thank you.
Kenny is at 8-12. And Bone Man's at 9-11 now with me. So Bone Man has tied it up for first place, and Kenny's still in last where he belongs. So there's that. But that'll take us to Around the NFL. All right, we're going to start it off with Bill Belichick, Mac Jones, and the god-awful Patriots. They did get a huge win this week against the Buffalo Bills. And parity reigns again. You know, it just goes to show you. We just talked about Baltimore and the Lions. The Lions were 5-1. Baltimore beat up on them pretty bad. And then, the 1-5 Patriots come out and get a win against a pretty tough Buffalo Bills team. But speaking of the Patriots, they did release rookie quarterback / wide receiver Malik Cunningham for the second time this year. So it feels bad to be that guy.
Yeah. I think, we talked about this with Belichick. I think it's interesting because I think he just really wants Shula's record. So this puts him 17 games behind Don Shula now, which is it's a very attainable number.
Yep. Probably just need a couple more years.
But how long is he going to be welcome in New England to coach if they're not good?
I don't know. There actually was some news on that recently. Robert Kraft kind of came out and backed him. I was like, hey, he more or less said stuff happens and we're not always going to be the best team. So Bill Belichick's welcome here as long as he wants to stay. Is more or less what he said. I mean,
you would think that, but you know how fickle fans are.
I would agree with you, especially a fan base that is used to winning. But anyways, ex-Ohio State boy and Saints star wide receiver Chris Olave was arrested on suspicion of reckless driving this past week. He was going 70 and a 30. So here's what I'll say about that. I mean, it's not a good look. You're an NFL player. You shouldn't be doing that. But at the same time, I mean, is this really that bad? I mean, unless it was legitimate, a residential area and he's going 70 miles an hour. I mean, think about Suffield where we grew up and some of those back roads. They got 30 miles an hour for their speed limit, and I was doing 100 on them.
Yeah, probably pretty easily. There's no cops out there though, so you got to know your.
Yeah.
If you're in
read the room.
If you're in downtown New Orleans, you probably should know
That's true. I don't condone speeding in any shape or form. And actually now I drive exactly the speed limit. I swear to God. I just go exactly the speed limit.
Sure does.
I got pulled over yesterday morning.
Well.
Yeah, with a warning.
With a warning?
First time in my life I've ever been given a warning.
What were you doing?
I was doing 50 and a 35 at like 4:56
That's
in the morning.
weak ass.
Yeah, on a 4-lane road.
F that cop.
In Stowe, and it was wide open in like an industrial district, so he let me off, so that was nice of him.
Yeah, he was just on a power trip. He just wanted to pull you over and let you know that he had the power.
You should have called me. That was like the other time I got out of my sleep study. We could have hung out.
Yeah.
I was right over
I would have been there.
You guys are just hanging out in the middle of the night, not inviting me. What a bunch of dicks. Next up here, safety Kevin Byard, however you say this guy's last name. Good safety, Pro Bowl safety, got traded to the Eagles. And this could be trouble for the rest of the league because the Eagles are adding to an already stacked defense. So, I mean.
Yeah, this team is good and it's not going anywhere. They just keep stacking talent. I wasn't even thinking like, gee, they could really use a defensive player, but apparently here they are.
Yeah, and then speaking of Philly, Micah Parsons actually, who's a rival of theirs, said Philly is the NFL's best team and they have no weaknesses. So I mean that's pretty big praise coming from a rival.
Yeah.
Samsonite. I was way off.
Next up here, the Miami Dolphins are going to be featured on HBO's Hard Knocks in season. That's a pretty fun team to follow. You got a pretty entertaining coach. You got Tyreek Hill.
I thought you were going to say he was a gregarious coach because he is.
Oh, a gregarious coach.
I thought you were going to say, I was like, he's going to say gregarious, and then he went away from it. But, yeah, I mean, look, if there's a team that I would follow on honestly, thinking about where you want to put your money as an advertiser and a network, I mean, hell, they score 70 points one week and 17 the next. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably watch that. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't watch Hard Knocks most of the time. I watch when the Browns were on it, but besides that, I don't really watch it. But I would probably watch this because they're an entertaining team.
Do you remember when Hugh Jackson made the team dive into Lake Erie in the wintertime to cleanse their sins?
That's cold, man.
He was such a fantastic coach.
Then they went 0-16.
Yeah. You can't make me laugh.
Oh, man.
With this cold. Next up, Mecole Hardman got traded back to the Chiefs this past week and proceeded to have a 50-yard punt return in his first game back. So that was pretty good. Brock Purdy is in concussion protocol. He loses 2 games in a row and completely forgets who he is. He has no idea. He's out. So he's in concussion protocol. Don't know if he's going to play this week. Hopefully he passes.
It was amazing. They showed the statistic of Shanahan and other quarterbacks under Shanahan, and then Brock Purdy's numbers, and he's won like 900% of his games versus like 500.
He's the perfect Kyle Shanahan quarterback.
Amazing the numbers that he's put up, but who knows where he goes from here because that's 2 big L's in a row.
Speaking of QB injuries, Kyler Murray is off IR and back with the Cardinals. We play them in a couple weeks, so he might be back on IR when Myles Garrett gets a hold of him.
All right.
And one more. Ryan Tannehill had injured his ankle this past week, and if he has to sit out next week's game, or this coming week's game, Mike Vrabel said that both Will Levis and Malik Willis will play. So the Hellman's man himself gets his first shot in the NFL.
I'm excited about this, man. I can't wait for Will Levis. I hope they don't bungle this thing with
You think he's the most interesting man in the world?
With Malik Willis too much. Look, I want to give the kid a shot. He had a rough draft day and all that. Like, let's get this guy out there and see what he can do.
Well, now all he's known for is putting Hellman's in his coffee. So what an idiot.
I like mayonnaise.
In your coffee.
I like it all over.
That's weird, man. Marvin Jones announced he was stepping away from the Lions due to family matters, and then later released by the team. So I hope everything's okay there.
Yeah, it was just kind of an abrupt news break. That's basically all it was said was he was stepping away. And usually when they step away for personal reasons, the team kind of backs them and says, hey, whatever it takes until he gets right or gets his family right. But then they just be cut. There's something bigger going on there. So
that's odd. Hopefully that all gets straightened out. DeAndre Hopkins on the trade block, and the Steelers of all teams are the favorite to land him.
That actually would be a disaster for us.
I'm not going to go. I was going to say it'd be white D. Never mind. It would be D-Hop versus D-Hop. That's what I'll say.
There you go. Can't cancel us.
No.
Never.
The Rams released Brett Maher after 3 missed kicks this past week. It really sucks being a kicker in the NFL. You have a bad day and it's over for you.
It's a rough day.
Well, when you're Cade York, you get like 55 chances to have a good day, and you don't, and then you get released.
He was pretty solid in fantasy for a minute. I just had to drop him.
Speaking of Cade York, Rams, Cade York is available. So if you would like to sign somebody, Cade York is there. He can also miss kicks.
Non sequitur. We were doing some testing at my real job, and one of the transactions in our test transactions is called the Cade York jersey reimbursement.
Nice. Next up, Broncos safety Kareem Jackson has been suspended 4 games for multiple violations of unnecessary roughness. This game's so soft.
So soft. I mean, you go back and watch highlights of the 90s and the early 2000s, and these guys just rocking quarterbacks.
Dude, there used to be a segment on ESPN of like the biggest hits
like
across
you
the
get
NFL.
rocked or whatever.
Yeah, it was like the best segment on ESPN. It was fantastic.
This quarterback's getting drilled and laid out.
Like people getting their heads knocked off when they receive a punt.
That's terrible.
Reggie Bush getting blown up catching the screen pass.
Basically what that says is you've been suspended 4 games for playing too hard.
You're just too good at hitting people.
This game is glorified violence. That's why we love it as Americans.
Yeah. And then finally, the Seattle Seahawks are signing Frank Clark.
Isn't he old?
But I guess we'll be seeing him this coming week. So, and speaking of that, that will do it for Around the NFL. Kenny, you want to talk to some fellow Browns fans from across the country?
Across the country, like how far?
All the way across country.
All the way across? Are we going to Seattle?
Yeah, we're going to Seattle.
I'm in.
So something that we started doing this year is our Browns backers interview series. What we wanted to do is highlight Browns backers from around the country. We wanted to do this for several reasons. These are people that are diehard Browns fans and love our Brownies regardless of their record. That part is obvious. The Browns have fans everywhere. These people show up, rain or shine, to support the team. However, we also wanted to highlight these Browns backers organizations because what most people may not know about the Browns backers is that they in fact help the community that they are at, wherever they're located, through community service and charity. So we wanted to highlight all these things and point that out of these respective organizations. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the next interview in the series.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Okay, so this week for the Browns Backers interview series, we have the opportunity to talk to Jessica from the Seattle Browns Backers. Jessica, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We know everybody's busy, so we appreciate you taking the time. So first of all, let's talk about your chapter. Tell us a little bit about the Seattle Browns Backers. Where are you guys located? When you were established, your viewing location, and kind of how many members you guys have.
Sure. So obviously, we're located in Seattle. So we were established in 1989. So kind of a little fun fact is my vice president, her dad actually was one of the founders. So
nice.
He's actually going to be here this weekend for the game, which is really exciting. In terms of members, we have, I think it's like 226 like official members, but we let anybody come and join. So, people from out of town come all the time, especially earlier in the season, since the weather's still nice. And we meet at the Westie. So it's just like a little bit north of downtown, but still central in Seattle. And we've been there for, I want to say 5 years now, maybe 6 years. So, and I've been in my role. This is my 3rd year.
Nice. In the Westie, do they take care of you guys pretty well?
They do. They're amazing. Let's say, I don't know if she won't be listening probably, but shout out to Diane. She's the one that helps us in our back room every weekend. And I actually gave her one of our Seattle Browns backers shirts on Saturday, and she was very excited. Or on Sunday. So
awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
Jessica, so are you from the Seattle area originally, or
no?
Did you move out there?
Yeah, so funny enough, I am not actually from Cleveland either. My mom is from right outside of Cleveland, so she's from Warren, Ohio, by Youngstown.
Okay.
So that's where it's close enough, right? So that's where the Cleveland connection comes from. I'm from the DC area in Virginia, but I've been here in Seattle since 2018. So I've been here now for a little over 5 years.
Nice. And so out there, I know you said you've kind of taken over for the last 3 years here. It is exciting that you have an OG coming in for the weekend. That's pretty cool. But being in charge, are you guys involved with any community service or any charity work out there?
Yeah, so right now we don't have anything consistent, but we do have this weekend. We've got, to be honest, I don't even know how many people I'm anticipating at this point. It honestly could be thousands, which is still wild to me. But we are doing a huge raffle on Saturday night for our Browns Backers Bash. So part of the proceeds are going to go to an organization called Mary's House. So it's a local organization that helps with homeless. So, which is a big thing here in Seattle.
That's great. And part of us doing this, the Browns Backers interview series, is we want to highlight chapters because, we say all the time, obviously it's because you guys are a bunch of crazy Browns fans all over the nation. But it goes deeper than that. And I know just about every Browns organization, whether consistently or not, get involved with charity work, get involved with their community and give it back. So it's awesome that you guys are able to do that. And I'm sure it's going to be one hell of a party on Saturday night with the Seahawks game coming up there on Sunday.
Do you have any idea how many people are you expecting to come in for this weekend?
Well, so for Saturday, I sold 400 tickets and I capped at 400, but I know people are going to just kind of show up. But we are, which I've already, doesn't matter that I've been selling tickets since May. People, wait till the last minute and but we are also doing a tailgate Sunday that we're also raising money for, actually. So the one most challenging thing about Seattle and planning this whole thing is the Seahawks, where they play, they don't allow tailgating.
What a terrible idea. Bad job out of Seattle. That's like one of the greatest parts about football.
Yeah, and the stadium is like literally right downtown, so there's not really a lot of space to even do it, and the only people that are allowed to park there are season ticket holders. So mostly me, but I've had some help. Where we had one parking lot that wasn't going to be big enough, and so then we're renting out a bigger parking lot, but we've had to pay for that all out of pocket. So we've been raising money for that. Oh my God, I totally lost my train of thought right there. For Sunday, I honestly don't even know how many people. I've had 550 people say they're coming. I don't have a technical RSVP list, but there are some huge groups that are coming that live in Cleveland. One of them's bringing their bus, and he was saying that it could be thousands. So I'm just...
You got the Muni Lot degenerates coming? Is that what they're called?
They're one of the groups. And
I told you.
Yep, they're one of the groups. And then we have, I cannot remember the name.
Paul Brown making his way out there?
He is. Oh yeah. So he's coming with Larry. So he's the one that owns the bus that's coming.
Yep.
So they were in Indy last weekend, and then they've been.
I've seen him making his trek across the northern United States, so I figured he was on his way.
Yeah, he contacted me and said he was coming. So
yeah, no, that's awesome, and it's really cool that these guys like to travel and kind of go around, and that's part of it. That's part of what we're doing here, highlighting your group and any other group as we do these interviews. Is the fact that Browns backers are everywhere. They're everywhere. They all like to network and talk to each other and continue to grow this crazy organization. So it's just a really, really cool thing to see.
Yeah, and I got to meet a lot of them back in August when we did our yearly Browns Backers President's Summit. Canton? Yeah, so that was really, really cool. And I brought my mom with me. So it was actually really funny because I'm one of the younger presidents, and there are definitely more men than women, but my mom was loving it because a lot of them were her age, and we stopped in her hometown on the way there. But yeah, so I met a bunch of those people. I actually met, do you guys know Ray? He's in the Hall of Fame as super fan.
I've heard that a lot of these names that we've thrown out, I've heard the names, but I haven't actually met them. So I have not met Ray. He owns an orange
convertible, if that...
I know exactly who you're talking about, actually. Yes, I do. Again, haven't met him, but I do know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, so... it's been quite an adventure. But yeah, meeting everybody was really cool, and everyone was super helpful. So, it's been good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And like I said, it's going to be a crazy party out there. It's weird. We follow a lot of these Browns backers groups on social media, and it is like you're saying, all of a sudden you start seeing when the game is approaching their town, because there's all this activity on their page. People asking, is there going to be a tailgate? Is there going to be a party? How can we be a part of this?
It's almost like their Super Bowl, right? I mean, it's the only time you have the Browns in your city all year long. So,
yep. So that's really cool.
Sorry, you guys cut out there. Seattle is once every 8 years here, so a lot of people are making this kind of like a destination. So, and I've fingers crossed right now. It is not supposed to rain on Sunday. So
I was just going to ask you, how is the weather out there this time of year? I know we're kind of transitioning seasons here. Obviously in Cleveland, it's starting to get a little blustery here. Still have a couple warm days here and there, but they're kind of a gift. So what's the weather pattern out there look like?
Yeah, it's funny. I swear, like every year I'm here, it is totally different. Doesn't rain as much as you would think. It's usually more overcast. But the past few weeks, we've had actually a lot of sun. It started to rain a little bit, but the next 5-6 days in the forecast are sunny in the 50s. So, and it doesn't usually get too cold here, which is really, really nice. It's very temperate. So.
Fun fact, Cleveland actually is up there in most overcast days in the nation per year. And they actually top Seattle most years. They go back and forth, but they're both in the top 10, and Cleveland usually is a couple spots ahead of Seattle.
So. But ours is usually accompanied by feet of rain and snow.
No, it's actually just talking about overcast days. So not rain, not anything else, just overcast. So we don't get a lot of sun here.
When our rain is more of a drizzle, it's not, we don't usually get full on downpours. So if you use an umbrella here, you're a tourist. We know.
Don't use an umbrella in Seattle. They'll know.
I'm glad I had this conversation.
Yeah. PSA. Who knew we were having that today? No, but let's talk about football a little bit here. So what are your thoughts on the Colts game this past week? What'd you think of that?
Oh my gosh. I was the Browns are going to be the reason that I get my first gray hair these last 2 weeks. I'm just I can't, these last, literally down to the last seconds, games are just so intense.
Well, and the wild thing about these last two games is we usually lose these ones, and we've won both of them. So it's been crazy. Luckily, that gray hair doesn't come through because you win in the end, and it's a sigh of relief.
That's why I have so many gray hairs.
That's the thing as a Browns fan is, we've been so just beaten down, and you never expect to win those games. You're right. You're just oh, well, here we go. This is what always happens. And I know there's been controversy around one of the calls with was it a holding on Amari Cooper? And they fumbled it. Oh, sorry. The dog hears someone.
That's okay. Is the dog close? Introduce the dog.
She's now barking at the door, but when she comes over here, I'll bring her over here.
So there was a hold on Amari Cooper. I think that's the less egregious one. I think the one everybody was mad about was the pass interference call on DPJ out of the back of the end zone.
But here's the thing: we never get those calls. For 23 years, we haven't got those calls. So I'll take one my way.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's what I saw. There's this girl named Annie. She makes TikTok videos. I don't know if you've seen them, but she does a weekly recap, and she basically was talking about that and going through and being people complaining about the calls we got this week, but then was making the list of all the bad calls we've had over the years.
Yeah,
there's been plenty of them.
There have been a lot.
Yes,
so and no, we agree with you. I mean, it's just been heart stopping the last couple of weeks here. It's been just really hard on your heart and your emotions and just your mental health, I guess you could say. The
Browns are not good for your mental health.
No.
That is the truth. But like you said, at least when it's a win, you're we go to our bar, and then there's this brewery right down the street, which I guess another plug, Triple R Brewing, which is near here. Nice. They expect us. They have our little magnetic schedule every week, so they always know if we've won based on the mood that we walk in with. So,
well, we've had 4 good weeks this season, so they must be 4
I know. So, but yeah, I'm glad we pulled it off. That is all I can say about that.
And so, how do you think, just as a whole, the Browns have looked so far this season?
I mean, our defense is solid. I mean, this past weekend definitely wasn't their best game. But luckily, I mean, Myles Garret is a superhuman. I just can't believe he's real.
It's like a meme. That lady on the plane. This guy is not real.
Not real.
No, I mean that it's just like incredible what he does. But I mean this whole Deshaun thing is a little like who knows what's going to happen. I know he's not playing this weekend, so we're going to see PJ Walker again. But
Kenny calls him TJ Maxx. He doesn't even know his name.
I forget his name. Yeah, I call him XFL or TJ Maxx. The Deshaun story though continues to get more bizarre by the day. I mean, what do you think about that in general?
I don't know. I mean,
putting her on the spot here.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have a lot of thoughts on Deshaun, but in terms of like what's going on, I just you're right. We don't even. It's been so weird. Like they haven't been super upfront about what's going on. It was like you would think after the bye week he's going to come back, and then he doesn't, and then he could have, I guess, technically come back on Sunday, but then he didn't. So it was like, was he benched or So
yeah,
I don't know. That's a really
complicated. He's healthy again this week. He's been cleared,
but he's being rested
again. But yeah, being rested. Yeah.
So it has been bizarre, and I think honestly, more so than Deshaun, I think we all have our own personal feelings on Deshaun, but at the same time, football wise, I don't think he's necessarily really done much wrong except for at the beginning when he was telling everybody he was going to play. But if it truly was a coach's decision and not what Kevin Stefanski said about him choosing not to play, if it was not even a coaching decision, if it was a front office decision, and they told him not to play.
I've just never seen a front office handle information so carelessly.
That's the point I'm trying to make is that I don't put it on Deshaun Watson as much as I put it on the front office and the coaching staff to be upfront and honest with,
on the same page with each other.
Not only the fans but like media and everybody else about what's going on.
Yeah, so. The Browns. The Browns always leave you on your toes. Let's be honest. We just.
It's
why they're bad for your mental health.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and look to this week. We are on a 2-game winning streak, which is rare. Cleveland.
Yes, it is.
So what are your thoughts on the Week 8 matchup with obviously the team in your city, the Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah. So I haven't had a lot of opportunities to watch what the big people are saying, but the Seahawks fans are very confident. I will say that. I honestly think it's going to be a good game. I think it'll be close. They're playing well. They won last weekend too, and I believe it was a division game if I remember correctly. And the Seahawks have the hardest time with division games. Like they usually lose the division game, so them even winning is a big deal. But I think the Browns can pull it off. I mean, having 2 wins in a row, they've got that momentum, right? And there's going to be a lot of us too, so lots of orange and brown hanging out at the stadium. So
that's what we like to see.
Yeah, and I know you said they are very confident, which they are 4-2. Geno Smith is playing well again this year. But I mean, would you say as far as temperature wise on their team, like that's overall for the season, they're just they think they've got a team this year is what you're saying?
They do, yeah. And like even the guy that I've been working with for the parking lot for the tailgate, he was feeling pretty confident about it, and they were even like raising the prices for the parking lots this weekend, and they're feeling it. So, but so are we. So I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, but so I guess on the flip side of that, it sounds like you've talked to quite a few people there in Seattle about this week's game already. How do the Seattle fans feel about the Cleveland Browns?
Not really like any issues. It's funny when you talk to Seahawks fans, they are surprised that Browns fans exist, and I'm like, I mean, we are kind of far away.
They don't even have tailgating.
I know. But yeah. So, but there's no they have no beef with, Browns fans. And I will say most people in Seattle are very passive. And so they're not going to stir up any drama or anything like that. It's going to be very civil. You're going to have those sports fans that just are like that anyway. But there's no bad blood over here. They're all just like, whatever, it's the Browns.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's kind of where we want to be.
Yeah.
If every team just comes into the game thinking, they're just the Browns, then that's probably where we want to be.
I was like, don't underestimate us, you know?
So obviously Geno Smith had a huge resurgence out there last year. Feels like almost, at least to me, like he's taking a small step back, but does the city still feel like he's their guy, like he can get it done, take this team on a deep playoff run?
Yeah, I was talking to my friend yesterday, and he was like, I still feel pretty good about Geno, because we were talking about fantasy, and I have him in one of my fantasy leagues. So he was like, he was still up on him, so I haven't heard any negative things on Geno.
Well, to your point, it does feel like he's taking a step back, but he's still playing well. Like statistically, he's playing well. It's
he was so good last year.
He had such a crazy year out of nowhere last year that everybody kind of expects him to just repeat that. And it's
that's
quarterbacks won't.
It came out of nowhere, right? So that's where that came from. Whereas now he kind of has that expectation of you did this last year, you should be doing this again.
Yeah, what have you done for me lately? That's the NFL for you.
Speaking of quarterbacks, so obviously before Geno, you had the recently departed Russell Wilson.
Our board man's a big fan of Russell Wilson. Bone Man, as we call him, our board operator, loves Russell Wilson.
I'm just curious, is there bad blood there between the fans of the city and Russell, and is there almost a joy to see him struggle so much as he has in Denver?
Yeah, it's you kind of get both sides of it. I've definitely heard people, and I personally don't have a problem with Russell. I think as a person, he seems like a good dude, nice. And I don't think them losing is all his fault. It seems like there's a lot of stuff going on in Denver.
Fair.
But you definitely do have the people here that are like, screw you, you left us, and and it is interesting too to hear some of his old teammates talk about him. They don't seem like maybe the biggest of fans. So, I don't know. It's definitely a mixed bag.
I think what I've gathered since he left Denver, talking about some of the comments that teammates have made and whatever, is it sounds like he was far more of a loner than it seemed like when he was actually on the team. Like he just kind of did his own thing. And
he was a loner playing a leader.
Yeah. And so it's just kind of a weird dynamic. And it's funny how that stuff, I will say that's how you could tell the Seattle Seahawks are a good organization, is there was no inkling, nobody had any idea that any of that was going on while he was there. And so
when he was there, it was great. Right, he was a MVP candidate every year, and things were great.
So the fact that was so buttoned up, and they continued to play well while he was there, and there was just no drama. Not to name names, but some teams that we know have drama a lot, and you didn't see any of that. So that, to me, that's a sign of a really good organization. So not that this is the Seattle Seahawks interview here, but I just want to give them a little bit of props there for if you had that much drama behind the scenes and it wasn't showing, that's a good thing.
Well, all their problems would have been solved if they ran it on the 1 yard line. So
that's true. That's true. What a bunch of idiots. But no, so Jessica, listen, it's been fantastic having you on here. I know you said the game was going to be close. Do you have a score prediction for us for this weekend?
Ooh, that is oh my gosh, that is so hard to say, especially after how many points they scored this weekend.
I'm hoping that was a fluke.
Well, not for the Browns, though. We want them to score that.
Right. Looking back at that game, I'll be honest with you, I still can't figure out how we scored 39 points.
I still know what happened.
I know what you mean, though. It does seem like where did they come from?
Well, our offense wasn't all that great. And so, I know our defense had a lot of turnovers and those types of things, but I just keep trying to count up the points in my head. And I'm like, wait, where did we get those extra 14? Dustin Hopkins, I guess, is the answer. But
I guess. Well, yeah, he's just, thank God for him. He is
yeah.
Oh, man, a score prediction. Let's say, I do think the Browns can pull this off. I do.
Like it? I'm
going to say, I don't want to be so typical. Let's say 20-24 Browns.
Ooh, I like it.
24-20
Browns. I'll mark that down, and if it's right, I'll comment and on our social media post, and I'll tag you in it and say, yeah,
National
talking about. That's right. I just pulled that out of nowhere. So.
Well, no, yeah, we really appreciate it. We appreciate the time that you've taken to be with us today, and we're gonna hold you to that 24-20. I like it. I think that's what's gonna happen. I'm hoping the Browns come out on top, and it's just been fantastic. So thanks for joining us. Keep doing what you guys do out there, and go Browns.
Yeah, go Browns. Thank you guys so much for having me. We're the Seattle Browns backers, and you're listening to the Burning River Sportscast. Go Browns!
Man, good talking to Jessica, huh?
Yeah, she was fun. Did a little dog run around. Josie.
Yeah. Josie, yeah. I don't know if we ever got her on screen, but she was running around there.
And we saw her at the beginning and the end there. There's cute little pup.
Yep.
Look, I think it's going to be an exciting game this week out in Seattle. Always good to hear from people that have boots on the ground there.
24-20, that's what she went with.
That's what she went with. So we'll see how that pans out, and when we pick our picks here in a moment.
Yeah. And that'll take us to the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. You guys know what it is. Don't forget to call and leave your hot takes on the Hot Take Hotline.
Give me some hot, sticky
takes. We want those hot, sticky takes. We want them on the Hot Take Hotline. Remember, these are hot takes. We want hot takes. We want hot takes. We want hot takes. We want hot takes. 330-227-8080.
330-227-8080.
330-227-8080. Call now. Operators are not
nowhere to be found.
Standing by. It's just an answering machine. And it's that time again. Time for a quick revenue break. We're going to take that quick break and then get back here and talk to Browns legend Greg Pruitt. And then finally preview the Week 8 matchup with the Seattle Seahawks.
Count up our obscene profits.
Towpath Distillery. Towpath Distillery, an award-winning craft distillery located in Akron, Ohio. Towpath Distillery focuses on high-quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Towpath's lineup includes an ultra-smooth, award-winning premium vodka, a small batch silver rum made from the highest grade molasses, an American craft gin made with 9 botanicals, and a blended straight bourbon made from corn and rye. Towpath Distillery, now available locally and in 44 states. Visit towpath-distillery.com to place your order online or find an OHLQ retailer near you. Towpath Distillery, handcrafted, award-winning, small batch, local, and family-owned. All Cleveland Coffee. All Cleveland Coffee is a coffee company that launched earlier this year in Cleveland, as the name would suggest. Founded by Browns legend and Hall of Famer Joe Thomas and 6-time heavyweight champion of the world in the UFC, Stipe Miocic, along with a team of several other brilliant Clevelanders. All Cleveland Coffee is on a mission to give 1 million meals back to the community through an official partnership with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. How will they do that, you ask? With every bag purchased, 3 meals get donated to the food bank. It's such an awesome idea with a bunch of great individuals involved, and the end result is the best coffee in Cleveland, bar none. It comes in 3 roasts, light, medium, and dark. The dark is what Joe Thomas enjoys every day. It used to be what I enjoy, but I've actually switched to the medium roast after having a lot of their coffee. Kenny, what do you like?
I'm a medium roast guy.
We're both medium roast guys. All Cleveland Coffee. Visit all-cleveland.com today to order your coffee and donate a few meals in the process. All Cleveland Coffee. Ethically sourced, premium roasted, and 3 meals donated for every bag purchased. Go on and get some. Okay, before we get into the Week 8 preview, let's take a few minutes to talk to another Cleveland Browns legend that will be joining us on the Browns Fan Cruise.
Powered by Riverside FM.
All right, so our next guest was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1999, inducted into the Browns Legends program in 2001. He ranks 5th all-time for the Browns in rushing yards with 5,496, 9th in rushing touchdowns with 25. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler and went on to win a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Raiders after his time in Cleveland. So enough with the pleasantries. Here he is. Everybody, welcome Greg Pruitt.
Great.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing good. Thanks so much for joining us. And before we get started here, before we get to the questions that we have for you, I do want to talk about something. I know you're going to be on the Browns fan cruise in March of 2024. That is confirmed. We can bank on it. You'll be there. And you're going to be there. We, in case you didn't know, are brought to you by the Cleveland Browns fan cruise. We're the podcast of the Browns fan cruise. We'll be on the Browns fan cruise and emceeing all of the events on the fan cruise. And so we're really looking forward to sharing that same fan cruise with a legend such as yourself. So I guess, can you tell us a little bit about the fan cruise? Tell the fans a little bit about the fan cruise and what they can expect.
Well, it won't be cold where we're going. That's number one. And we're going to go 5 days. Nassau, stopping in Nassau, stopping in Jamaica, and spending a few days actually in the ocean. We're going to have a great time. A lot of events are planned on the ship, and I look forward to being with the Cleveland Brown fans. Go Browns.
Absolutely. And so with that, I mean, let's get into your story a little bit here.
Can I ask you a question real quick before we get started?
Yeah, let's go.
Greg, that hat. That is a unique hat there. What's going on with that hat? It's pretty cool.
A Cleveland Brown fan, lady made hats, worked at Giant Eagle, recognized who I was, introduced herself, and asked me if I would let her make a hat for me. And this is a hat she made, and it's a great idea. I like it. I wear it.
That is spectacular.
I wear it. I do the Monday morning running back show on TV8 every Monday, and you know it's me because I'll have this hat on.
One of a kind. Nobody has it but Greg Pruitt. No, so like I said, let's get into your story. If you still know her, I would like a hat kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, they could put my name on it. I don't really have a number. I'm a podcast host, but we could come up with something. But yeah, let's get into your story here. Obviously, you attended college at Oklahoma from 1970 to 1972, where you were an All-American. There's actually, I don't know if many people know this, but there's a college football rule that's named after you. The Greg Pruitt rule made tearaway jerseys illegal. So can you tell us a little bit about that and your time at Oklahoma as well?
Yeah, well, I was born in Houston, Texas. Went to high school in Texas. I got a scholarship at the University of Oklahoma. A lot of people don't realize that I was a quarterback in high school. And my senior year, I was told by my head coach that I was going to become a wide receiver and not a quarterback anymore. The quarterback behind me, he got drafted out of high school in baseball, so he had a pretty good arm. But I didn't like the move, but I accepted it. And thank God back then, when coaches told you to do things, for example, if they said jump, the only thing you could say is high. You had nothing else you could do about it. So the reason I found later was my high school coach had a relationship with the University of Oklahoma. I had three upperclassmen that went to Oklahoma a year ahead, and they all got starting positions. So my coach was smart enough to work out something with Oklahoma. He said, listen, I got some great guys, but the only guy that I got that could work in your program is Greg Pruitt. But Greg is a quarterback. And so there were no black Division I quarterbacks. So he thought it would be easier for me to play wide receiver position. So I went to Oklahoma as a wide receiver. And at my sophomore year, in fact, back it up a little bit, when I was a freshman, you could not play varsity as a freshman. You had to play a freshman schedule. Then your sophomore year, you made the varsity team and played on the varsity. So I did. I made the starting wide receiver on the freshman team. And when I came to Oklahoma my sophomore year. I think it was like maybe the third game of the season. Oklahoma decided to go from a veer offense, which basically throws the ball, to the wishbone. Mm-hmm. I was the first in that class that Oklahoma switched. In fact, we played the University of Texas, which is a big rivalry of Oklahoma. In the pregame, my number was 83, and when we came back to take the field to play, my number was 30. So I played second team. I was not very happy about that. I felt like I could start for anywhere I went, and Oklahoma was no exception. For me, I ran everything through my mom. My parents divorced when I was young, and my mom was my dad, my mom, and somebody that I knew I could trust and who loved me, and who was going to tell me the way it was, whether I liked it or not. So I called her to tell her I was quitting, that I was going to go somewhere I could play, that I can start. And my mom, usually she scream and holler at you when you say something crazy to her. So when I told her I was quitting, I put the phone away from my ear and I didn't hear anything. Then I put it back up and asked, "Did you hear what I said?" And she ignored me, and she started to give me a telephone number, area code, and a number. I knew it was a Houston number because I knew the area code. So I asked, I said, "Whose number is this?" And she said, "That's your uncle's number," which was her brother. I said, "Oh, he gonna come and get me?" She said, "I don't know. That's a conversation you and my brother have to have. But if at the end of that conversation he agree with you, then make sure that when he picks you up, he take you to his house. You can't come here because I didn't raise no quitters." So I boo-hooed and got mad, and she said, "Listen, I know you worked hard. I know you think things are not going your way, but you have to be prepared because you don't ever know when things will change." And 2 weeks later, we played Iowa State. Iowa State hadn't beat Oklahoma in 30 years, and they had us down at halftime. The guy in front of me ran a sweep, got hurt. I got in the game and scored a touchdown and an extra point because they wasn't even ranked. We were ranked so high and they were so low ranked that if we had even tied them, we would have fell out of the rankings. So we ended up barely winning that game. But that was the beginning of my career. I've never looked back.
Nice. That's an amazing story, and it just kind of shows you. Yeah, and it just kind of shows you that you gotta keep plugging along and just keep at it, and good things are bound to come to those that work hard. Well, and I know you went on from there.
Well, I got drafted by Cleveland. In fact, I tell people when Cleveland drafted me, they came down and I ran the 40 and did some other stuff for them. But when I went to Cleveland, nobody had really seen me other than the scout for them. So when you're drafted, there's a day they bring all the rookies in, is press day and all of that. So when I came to Cleveland, the one thing I remember in Cleveland, it was a Sunday, the sun was out, and it was most snow on the ground than I ever seen in my life. And I said, I think I went to the wrong place. I'm not gonna like this. So it was so bad that we had to do the little workout at the downtown at the convention center. They weighed me, so they made you strip down and get on the scale. So I had a 5-pound weight under a towel, and I got on the scale and I weighed 177 pounds. They said he was heavier than we thought. I said they just didn't know how right they were. So, my rookie year, the best thing happened to me was Leroy Kelly played for the Browns, because I learned all the little things that you need to learn as a running back. I thought I was it. I come out of college, I should have won the Heisman. I had almost 2,000 yards from the line of scrimmage and I had a 9.4. I had the record at the time for average per carry was 9.4. And when I met Leroy Kelly, Leroy is about 5'11". I'm 5'9". that's not enough. And I said, I know he's not faster than me. It's been about a month I have his job. That's what I thought. So when practice started and we started playing in games, he made it look so easy, and I struggled, and that got my attention. I said, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. And if I want to be as good as that guy, I need to start paying attention to what he's doing. And I have a highlight film playing Kansas City Chiefs, and Leroy taught me a little trick about 22 trap. It's kind of technical. 4-3 defense. You got not Curly Cup. God, I can't say it. He's in the Hall of Fame. Willie Lanier. Willie Lanier was a middle linebacker, and Leroy got hurt, and I got in the game. And I was in my mind. I remember them saying in the meetings and watching film that you got to make sure you don't tip off what you're doing with Lanier, because he'll pick up on anything. So I thought I would be smart. I thought if I leaned a little bit to my left, because they call 22 trap, which is going right, I could fool it. So when I leaned a little bit, I looked up to see if he was taking the bait, and he basically shook his head, no, you got to cover something better than that. I got tackled for a 4-yard loss on the first play. So we come out, I come out of the game, and Leroy meets me and tells me, and this is how veterans, how this game is playing 99% from the neck up. Little things you need to know that can make a huge difference. He told me, he said, Greg, was you sleeping the meeting? I said, what do you mean? He said, that's Willie Lanier as a middle linebacker. You can't fool him. He said, leaning one way is not going to get it. He said, this is what you got to do, and you got to trust me on this. 22 trap means that Lanier knows they trapping the guard. He's going to go over to help. But when he goes over to help, it's not going to be 22 trap anymore. It's going to be 21 trap. He's going to leave the back door open. I got it on highlight film. I did what he told me, and I don't know how many yards I ran, like about 80 yards for a touchdown. So I went from a 5-yard tackle in the backfield doing the wrong thing and just making an adjustment like that, and it made all the difference in the world. So, when I watch the games today, and, Chubb is a great back. There's no question about that. And Ford is going to be good, too. I told him this morning that he wears 34. And there was a couple of times out there he looked like the old 34. But it's 99% from the neck up. All these guys are skilled. All of them are fast. All of them are great athletes. But, you can't make mistakes. You can't do anything to beat yourself. The team you're playing don't need no help. But if you give it to them, you're just going to make it harder to beat them. And that was the difference for me in the game against Pittsburgh and this week. The defense played well enough to win the football game. They did not give anything to Tennessee. But the offense last week spotted Pittsburgh 17 points that they didn't earn. They got the long field goal and the 2 interceptions. And that was the difference. I think if we can stay healthy, I think that was our biggest obstacle. And there's not a whole lot of things you can do to stay healthy, but try to be in the best shape you can be in and get lucky. Some teams are lucky enough not to get any of their guys hurt. And some teams are better on paper, but they can't keep the better players on the football field. And that is the difference in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're talking about the team now and kind of how the season has gone up to this point. Do you have a prediction, or do you, as far as the rest of the season goes, on how you think they'll do? Just give us your thoughts on this year's Browns team, if you will.
How many games did the Browns win last year? Because they're much better than they were last year. Although their schedule is a little tougher, I believe they'll win double digits this year. I think they'll win at least 10 games, maybe 11 games. Even if you get on a streak and then you get that confidence in yourself and you don't turn the ball over, that's the biggest thing is us make it as tough as we can make it on other teams and don't give them anything. I do get a little nervous sometimes when this analytics come in the game and they do something that I'm old school. I just don't believe that you go for a 4th and 1, and if you don't give it, you give the other team a short field. I'll never accept that.
Yeah, analytics drive us nuts on this show here. I mean, I guess it has its place just because everybody's using it in the NFL today, but it does drive us nuts at times. Kenny, did you have a question?
Greg, obviously you had a really sorry, go ahead.
No, I was listening.
Obviously you had a great college career there, and you mentioned you played high school before that, or quarterback in high school. When did you know that you were a good enough athlete that the NFL was a reality for you? I mean, it's a long, hard journey to get there, and obviously you had a ton of talent to play at the schools you did and play the positions you did, and come in right away and make an impact. But when was that moment? Was there a coach or a mentor, someone that kind of put that in your head that like, I'm absolutely good enough to play in the NFL?
Well, fortunately for me, my high school coach was a tough coach. He believed you be in the best shape that you can be in, and you don't make mistakes. It's old school football. And for me, he came to Oklahoma. They offered him a job after I came to Oklahoma. And probably the beginning of my junior year, I thought, that I could play football with anybody.
Nice.
Did you have another one?
Oh, I'm good right now.
Okay. Real quick, I do want to go back to one thing from your time at Oklahoma. I mentioned at the beginning here, there's a Greg Pruitt rule for tearaway jerseys. Why did they make that rule? Why are you not allowed to wear tearaway jerseys anymore?
I don't know. I guess they didn't have nothing else to do. But I came here and it's called a Pruitt rule in the NFL. They made it illegal, and nobody was happier to see that rule go than me. And I tell people, when it's about 20 below, 0 or whatever, find a T-shirt, put it on, and go outside. You'll find out that it get awful cold. And no place in Cleveland is colder than the Cleveland Stadium downtown. So we get game plans and we sit in meetings in preparation for games. And we know that on first down we want to do this, or second down we want to do that, or third down based on what the situation is, we're going to do this or that. Well, the other teams do the same thing. They know what our tendencies are from what the film has told them. So anytime we got into a situation that they most likely knew they was going to go to me, they would walk up and tear my jersey. And it should have been an infraction to the defense, but they made me leave the field and get another jersey. So I found myself going through 5 or 6 jerseys a game, running on and off the field, and that's just too much of a distraction for me. I need that 25, 30 seconds to hear the play, to look at the defense, to see the point of attack, and figure out who's going to block who and how we going to make this play work. And when you take away 15 seconds of that, then you guessing, and usually you guess wrong.
What's the most jerseys you ever went through in a single game?
I don't know, about 5 or 6 jerseys or even more. I remember playing the Dallas Cowboys, and in the Cowboys stadium, both teams share the same hallway before they can take the field. And so I'm coming down the hallway, and I run into Bob Hayes, and Bob Hayes said, "Greg, I heard about them jerseys you got. Is that a tearaway?" And he grabbed my jersey and tore it. I hadn't even made it to the field.
Oh man! So it's just like the running joke then.
Yeah. I hated that jersey. Once people get hip to it, they would tear it just to get you off the field. But they knew it would tear, so they would start tackling you different. My style made it more of an advantage to me because I never would give people my whole body to tackle or wrap up. Most of the time, I make a move on a guy, and he might catch me with his hand, or he might not. But that jersey was a distraction for me more than anything. In fact, a
so they didn't know, but they were helping you. Because once that rule went into effect, it was easier.
Yeah, well, that was another guy on the team that had a tearaway jersey. He was a starter with me. You know who he was?
Who was it?
Number 30, Cleo Miller. Cleo Miller was the fullback, and he wore a tearaway jersey just like I did. But you never seen him tear a jersey off of it because he didn't have the style to make it an advantage for him.
He didn't have the moves that Greg Pruitt had.
No, I guess, as a kid, we played football in the streets, and the streets were narrow. And you learned to make all those moves. And then when I got to high school and I saw a football field 50 yards wide and 100 yards long, and I said, man, this ain't fair.
Oh, man. No, so these are amazing stories that I would love to keep hearing story after story from you because they're fantastic. But you did have an amazing career with the Cleveland Browns. And so I guess, with all that time spent with the team and all the different things that you saw while you were in the league, do you have any advice for current Browns players, especially the younger guys that are just getting their start?
Well, pay attention to what goes on in the meetings. If you got a veteran playing your position, you can learn a whole lot from him. Don't go to sleep in the games that they show after they're played because you can learn from them. The whole purpose is to see what you've done, and if it was successful, to repeat it. But if it was not successful, to make the changes that will make it successful. And
so basically, you're saying don't be Johnny Manziel, right?
Well, if you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk.
Yeah, so no, that's good advice there. And I know spending time with the franchise, obviously, it's more than just playing football for them. You kind of become involved with your teammates, off the field, your community, those types of things. So with that in mind, is there a favorite memory that you have from your time in Cleveland off the field?
Probably, well, there's a whole bunch of them, but I would say probably one of my memorable moments was we played in Houston, and I believe we were going to get in the playoffs, but it was dependent on somebody winning or losing. And we found out that the team did win, so we missed getting in the playoffs. I think our last game was Houston, and so when we came home, it was just thousands and thousands of people at the airport, cheering us on anyway because of the season that we had, even though we came up short. It's nothing like these Cleveland Browns fans. I played with the Raiders. I went to Oklahoma and here in Cleveland, and all three spots have great fanfare, but nothing like Cleveland. I tell you a funny story. One year we lost about 4 games in a row. Now people don't realize this is embarrassing to the players as it is to the fan. I didn't even want to come out. I didn't want to even be seen in public. I get in my car and go to practice, and when I get in from practice, I get in my car and come home. So one day my doorbell rang, and I peeped out the hole, and it was a U.S. postman. And so he turned around to the door and he showed me a letter. I couldn't see what the letter was. I assumed it was a registered letter or something I had to sign for. So I opened the door to get my letter, and he said, man, when y'all gonna win a game? This is the postman that was the Browns fan.
You're like, I can't even get my mail without being harassed here.
Right.
No, the Cleveland Browns fans are something else. I mean, obviously we're Cleveland Browns fans, or else we wouldn't be doing a Cleveland Browns podcast. But so we're a little biased, but I do believe that Cleveland Browns fans are something special, and it takes somebody that's kind of a true fan, somebody with a lot of grit and determination to stick with all the hard times we've had with this team. But it looks like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like there could be.
Yeah. Something came to mind about one of my great moments in relationship to the fans. The first year that I rushed for 1,000 yards, I was close. I needed 200 and some yards, but I had 3 games left to get it. But I only had 1 home game left. That meant I would have to rush for over 200 yards to get it. And I wanted to get that 1,000 yards in front of the home fans because I knew I would get a standing ovation. I knew this. So I ended up, we played Kansas City Chiefs. I got 215 yards, and I got a standing ovation. And that's probably the greatest feeling you can have in front of the fans. It's for the fans. I tell the fans, we all can relate. Monday is the day everybody goes back to work. That don't mean everybody's happy to go back to work. We do it because it's our jobs. The only difference in that is, as a football player, your Monday is my Sunday. That don't mean that I feel like playing football on Sunday, even though it's my day. So you learn to prepare yourself and go out for pregame, and you do all the other stuff in preparation for the game. But when it's time to come out that tunnel prior to the game starting, the fans, they cheer so loud for you that, for me, I say to myself, if they won a contest and they were allowed to play, I don't see one person that wouldn't take that chance. But they don't get that chance. I do. And so I'm going to make the most of being able to play. And it motivates me to play well. They do make a difference. We do have a 12th man here in Cleveland.
Hell yes. It's strong words. I mean, that's real powerful. Hearing that come from somebody like you, and I'm sure all of the fans are going to appreciate hearing that. And so, before we get back into the fan cruise here a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about what you're up to today? What do you got going on every day in your life, Greg?
I had a construction business. I retired from it. My son kind of runs it a little bit, so I'm really a fetchy guy more so than anything else, and a frustrated golfer. I found out that there's a whole lot of hours in the day. It used to be when you're real busy and you work, it's not enough hours. And then when you retire, you find out it's way more hours than you thought that's in the day. So I do those kind of things and help people out. I'm a grandfather, so that keeps me busy. I got 6 grandsons. And I got one. Wow. Trey, we call him Trey, Greg Pruitt the third. And he plays high school football in Maryland, and he's a beast. He might beat Pawpaw out. He's pretty good.
So we need to start paying attention. We need to start watching for Greg Pruitt the third coming up here.
Yes, sir. It's I forget nice. It. My biggest thing for me is remembering things. There's something you can go online, and it'll bring up anybody in the country in high school. But if you put
Max Preps,
you bring up Greg Pruitt, huh?
Is it Max Preps?
It might.
I think it's called Max Preps. It's the high school. Yeah, it's the high school recruiting page.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to bring him up. Kenny might be able to throw some highlights on behind us real quick. So get him some exposure there.
See what I can find.
Are there any schools that have contacted him that are looking at him?
Oh, that's confusing. To me, the way it is now is nowhere like it was when I was coming out. The portals and it's confusing. And I'm sure it's confusing to him. I spoke to him about going to Oklahoma, but I'm not going to press him because he got to make that decision. He's the one got to go there, and he's the one that got to play. So if I think it's not a good choice, I'll say something. But If I don't know, I'll leave it up to him.
That's awesome. Well, no, that's great that you're spending time with your grandkids, have a big family. It sounds like everybody's doing very well. So before I get back into the fan cruise stuff, Kenny, did you have one more?
Yeah, I had one more question just before we get back into the fan cruise there. Greg, I noticed just in the back of your room there, you have the old 32 hung there against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously we lost the great Jim Brown this year. I didn't know, just as a fellow Browns alum, had you ever had, any special interactions or moments just with Jim, a favorite Jim Brown memory per se?
Well, I do have I have a story I'll tell you. When I was a kid, I remember watching Jim Brown play the New York Giants. And Jim Brown ran a sweep to the right. And we thought he was going to run out of bounds, but as he got to the sideline, he planted his right foot and dropped his shoulder on a would-be tackle, broke the tackle and ran for about 45 yards for a touchdown. So we as kids, when the game was over, we couldn't wait to go out and play football. But everybody wanted to be Jim Brown. So it was so we decided to pull straws to see who was going to be Jim Brown. And one of my friends named Charles Law, he won. He gets to be Jim Brown. And so we're playing football, and somewhere in the game, we're running a sweep, and it's wide open. He got a walk-in touchdown, and he runs to the right, and he slows down, and he plants his foot, and three of us hit it. We broke 2 legs and an arm. And Charles Law limps. He limps to this day. So many years later, I didn't know I would ever meet Jim Brown. So I see Jim Brown and we're playing golf. And I'm talking to him and I'm telling him, I say, how does it feel that everybody loves you? Everybody knows Jim Brown. He kind of smiled, bro. He said, yeah, well, it's still pretty good. So I said, well, I got some bad news for you. He said, what? I said, I know one guy don't like you at all. He said, well, who was that? So I told him that story, and I told him the guy's name was Charles Law. And we got to the next hole, and he looked back at me, and he said, Pruitt, that story you told me, that proves one thing. Don't you know that, right? I said, no, what does it prove? He said, everybody can't be Jim Brown.
Oh, man. No, that's a good story. That's a good story. It is funny. I know all of the alums that have had interactions with Jim love Jim Brown. Have had they have a lot of great stories about him. Common theme that we're starting to realize is that Jim Brown loved to golf.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was a great golfer too. He was nice. A good golfer. I'll tell you another short story if you got time about golf.
We got plenty of time.
Okay, so I'm playing Jim at Highland Golf Course. Now, the word is Highland was the course that, when he played for the Browns, was the course he played a lot. And it was hard to beat him at Highland. He gambled a lot at that golf course. So we're playing Highland, and I'm having a pretty good game, back and forth with him. And we get to number 18 at Highland. Jim don't know this. But now I'm saying I ain't never parred 18. It's like the number one handicap out there. But that day I hit a good drive, and my second shot, I birdied the hole. Not only it was the first time I birdied, it was the first time I ever parred the hole. But I beat him on the last hole. And so I'm kind of, shoulders spread and all that. And shake hands with him, tell him a good game. He said, oh, no, we got to play tomorrow. I said, well, hey, that's up to you. You want this tomorrow, you just show up, you can get it. So I go home, and I played with Ben Davis, and I told me and Ben came up the next day. Now, overnight, the weather changed. The temperature went to probably about 25 degrees. And it was raining a little bit. It was more like little sprinkles of snow. And Highland had they were remodeling the golf course, and they had a temporary office there. And so I pull up in the morning, and there's only one car in the parking lot. And I told Ben, I say, Ben, you don't think that's Jim Brown, do you? He said, I don't know. He rents cars when they come in. So we pull up. And so my whole thing was to make sure, hoping it wasn't him, because I didn't want to play again, especially at Highland in that kind of weather. And I run over to the car, the window comes down, and it's Jim Brown. I said, Jim, I just wanted you to know, man, I really wanted to play, but look like, man, the weather ain't going to cooperate. He said, it'll stop. I said, what? He said, yeah, give it a few minutes. It'll stop. We're going to play. So I go back over to Ben. I say, Ben, this dude wants to play. He said, what? I said, yeah, he wants to play. So it did slow down a little bit. Jim gets out. Remember, like I said, it's like about 25, 30 degrees. He got blue jeans on. He got a sweatshirt with the sleeves cut out of it and the neck cut out of it. He puts a windbreaker over that. And then he reaches down and puts his shoes on with no socks. I got Gore-Tex on and I'm freezing to death. So we go and we play. It's back and forth. I'm freezing. I mean, it's torture to me. It's just too bad. So we played 9 holes, and you got to go back past the main spot to play the back 9. And when we did, he looked at me and he said, "I don't know about you guys, but I'm taking to the house." He didn't have to wait for an answer. But that's my Jim Brown story.
Man, those are some of the best stories we've heard on our show. I mean, that's phenomenal. But no, like I said, I would absolutely love to sit here and hear all the stories that you have to tell, Greg. But we will have a chance on the cruise actually to talk to you a little bit more and maybe do another interview.
No problem.
Absolutely. And so speaking. Oh yeah. And so speaking of the cruise, I want to bring this back to the time that we'll get to share on the open ocean in March of 2024 and a couple amazing stops along the way. So let's talk about some of the things that we have to look forward to. I know, Kenny, you mentioned that there'll be some more mingling than fans are used to. You'll be able to get up close and personal, actually have a conversation, maybe shake hands, whatever the case may be with some of these Browns players.
Listen to some of Greg's great stories.
Oh, yeah. Sit there, maybe play some card games, whatever the case may be on deck there. So it's going to be really exciting. We're going to have a lot of fun. But I do want to talk about the Browns backers competition that the Fan Cruise has going right now. In the terms of this competition, basically, here's what the winners get as far as Browns backers organizations that are booking cabins. The chapter with the most bookings will get an all-expenses paid balcony cabin for 2 on the Browns Fan Cruise. The chapter with the highest members to bookings ratio will also get an all-expenses paid ocean view cabin for 2. All members of the winning chapter will receive a specialty dining pass for 2 guests, and all members of the winning chapter will receive a Browns Fan Cruise commemorative Cleveland Browns autographed football. And so with that being said, and speaking of the Browns backers, Greg, do you have anything that you want to say to Browns backers across the nation and across the world specifically?
Go Browns. I've had some great experience with Brown backers all over the country. Them guys come up with some ideas you never heard of. I actually went to Baltimore a couple of years ago to watch the Browns play Baltimore in Cleveland. I went to Phoenix, did the same thing. I watched the Browns play Phoenix in Cleveland. And I was in Phoenix at a Brown backers party. So they're everywhere. When I got traded to the Raiders and lived in L.A., like every other car had an Ohio license plate on it. I mean, they are everywhere.
Yeah, those guys with the Browns backers, they do really, really good work. You kind of alluded to it. They do a lot of good work off the field as well. So Browns backers, get out there, get book your cabins. We want to see you guys win. We want to see you guys on the Fan Cruise and mingle a little bit with you. Kenny, before we sign off here, did you have anything else for Greg?
No, I just want to, again, say thank you so much for your time. I mean, these were tremendous stories. I'm so glad we had a chance to sit down with you tonight, and looking forward to catching up with you on the actual cruise so we can mingle some more and have a great time.
Same to you. Can't wait to have a good time. Go Browns.
Yep. Go Browns. Thanks for joining us, Greg. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm Greg Pruitt, and you're listening to Burning River Sportscast. Go Browns.
Man, it was awesome talking to Greg, wasn't it?
Greg had quite the wardrobe there with that hat on.
That's a good hat. I liked it.
Look, that was a lot of fun. You don't ever know what to expect when you get into some of these interviews, but God, these conversations have been so wild and so fun to be a part of.
They just get better and better. I mean, like, not that his stories are better than anybody else's, but just the fact that, like, I'm learning so much about, like, behind the scenes Browns things that happen.
Oh yeah,
I've loved this team forever, and I've never heard any of these stories.
Right. So I just can't wait for them to continue to share these stories with us and with everyone that's listening and everyone that joins the fan cruise, because it's going to be a really good time.
I mean, this is the reason to go on it. You'll hear stories like this and more. So,
for sure.
I mean, there's plenty to go around. But that'll take us to the Week 8 preview. All right, guys. This week we have the Seattle Seahawks. Kenny, you got matchup previews or opposition research?
Yeah, so I'll keep it short and sweet here. Obviously, Pete Carroll's there, entrenched for a long time, has had great success with that team. He's like the boy wonder, is like 100 years old and just still out there just effing people up. So, love to see that they've just had continued success out there. They're a tough opponent. They're a tough play every time because they're on the West Coast. So anytime you have to go into their stadium, it's a long travel day, which makes things difficult. But Geno Smith continues mostly the tear that he was on last year, has played really, really well again this year. I think the biggest thing for them right now is they are banged up quite a bit as a unit across the board on the offense and the defense, but there's still plenty of players to go around there between Geno, Tyler Lockett, obviously the Ohio State kid, Jackson Smith and Jigba. So they have some playmakers that can really hurt you. They've run the ball really well this year, which is one thing that we'll have to keep an eye on, I think, throughout the game, because that's kind of strength versus strength with our defensive line. But in general, that defense continues to be pretty good, but that offense is just one that can hurt you. So that's what I think what we're looking at this week.
Yeah, and I mean, my matchups that I have kind of overlap with yours, so I'll be quick about them. But first one here is the Browns DBs versus Geno Smith. Obviously, Geno Smith continues his resurgence. Comeback player of the year last year, and then this year, not quite as good as he was last year, but still playing at a pretty high level. So our DBs, I mean, I wouldn't say they got torched last week, but Gardner Minshew put up some yards against us. So Geno Smith, a better quarterback than Gardner Minshew, I would say. So it'll be interesting to see how the Browns DBs can hold down the fort in the secondary this week. And then next up, you mentioned this one as well. I have coach versus coach this week. Pete Carroll is known around the league as a great coach. He's been doing it for a long time. And Kevin Stefanski, we're still calling him Kevin Stefanski. So, he did have a decent game last week. He does have this Browns team at 4-2 somehow with everything going on. So he's, even though we're calling him Kevin Stefanski, I would say at this point, if you just judged off of to this point in the season, Kevin Stefanski is probably a front runner to win Coach of the Year again.
He's probably at least in the conversation, sure. Yeah,
so, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Which Kevin Stefanski do we get? Do we get the Coach of the Year candidate, or do we get the guy that's going to run 4 or 5 reverses and a couple of them for negative 20 yards? Who knows? Who knows? It's a big one to watch, and I think that we need to keep an eye on Kevin Stefanski this week. But as a team, the Seahawks have a 4-2 record. They're coming off an easy win against the Cardinals. As you mentioned, they do have key injuries piling up, but so do the Browns. I got autocorrected here in my notes, but he's not Reno Smith. He's Geno Smith. Geno Smith is playing at a high level again this year, like I mentioned. It's going to be a tough one for the Browns. Will the Browns be able to get it done? Most likely without their $230 million quarterback again, and not most likely. It was confirmed earlier today. He will be out. So before we get to our picks this week, Kenny, give us the full injury report. I forgot there was a sounder for this. I just led right into it like it was just a normal segment. I forgot this was its own segment.
I was letting the sounder play.
Yeah, good job, buddy. Good thing you remembered because I didn't even like.
When you look at the Seattle Seahawks depth chart, there's 14 listed injuries here.
Holy
a couple
shit.
of these are IR spots already, but including one big one this week. One of their premier pass rushers, Uchenna Nwosu, is expected to have season-ending surgery on his pectoral.
Torn pec, never
so
good.
That's not good. But just a number of other guys that are questionable.
Give them to me quick. There's a lot of them.
DK Metcalf is one this week that's questionable.
Adam Schefter just came out today and said he's expected to play.
It's early in the week. It's still, a lot of these guys probably will play. But just the fact that they're banged up, I think, is the important thing to notice here. So
maybe not 100%.
DK Metcalf, they have a couple of, they have 3 guys listed as questionable along their offensive line. And a couple of linebackers and defensive backs. So, I think the good thing for them is they do have still in their nose tackle Jaron Reed, who's healthy, and Bobby Wagner. Those two can create some havoc up front. So, I think those will be 2 guys to watch. But they have a lot of injuries to key players around the board.
And what about on Cleveland's side?
On the Cleveland side, we actually have quite a few injuries too because
they're starting to pile up.
$230 million quarterback, who knows what he has going on. Jerome Ford had the high ankle sprain this week. Kareem Hunt is listed as questionable with the leg injury. Marquise Goodwin is banged up, listed as questionable. And David Njoku is listed as questionable because he burned his whole face off. Michael Dunn has hit the IR.
It seems to be pretty much healed at this point. I mean, he looked just like his handsome self this past week. So
I guess I don't know. He's been wearing that whole visor. You can't see his face anymore. But
they showed him pregame.
But Drew Forbes out. David Njoku questionable. Michael Dunn hit the IR. So that offense is really, really banged up. The good news is on the defense, the only player listed as questionable right now is Sione Takitaki. So for the most part, the defense is intact, and I think that's where we're going to have to lean if we're going to win this game.
So we have to lean for every game this season.
It'll be interesting to see what they do at running back this week, because Pierre Strong is obviously going to have to get some carries.
Yep.
If Kareem isn't ready to go, and who knows if they don't sign somebody.
I think
else.
they did sign somebody at least to the practice squad today. I forget the name. It wasn't anybody that anybody would even recognize. But
yeah, I mean before this game just to have as a backup, but. Yep. We'll see.
One last thing before we get to our picks, we'll do player to watch. We're going to start with Bone Man. Bone. Who's your player to watch this week?
I like David Njoku. Sorry, fellas, I was on mute.
What an idiot. Our board man didn't know how to work the board. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I got David Njoku. I think he's been playing really well this year, playing through injury, still coming up big in the passing game, blocking game. I feel like he's been catching everything coming his way this year. I feel like in the past he's had some drops, but I don't feel like that's been a thing this year. So.
I think I can only recall one drop. I think it was this past game, actually. He had one drop where it kind of hit right in the chest. I dropped that one.
I see him getting a touchdown this week, and we'll have PJ Walker, getting his first touchdown pass.
I hope so. Jeez. How can you go 3 games, no touchdowns? You can't, right? You can't. Kenny, who you got? There was no answer for me there. Everybody was like, I hope we don't.
I'm gonna.
You have the same one as me?
Speechless. Yeah, I mean, I have to go PJ Walker. He hasn't thrown a touchdown, but as we've talked about, he has some kind of weird calming effect on this team. His leadership seems to be unquestioned.
He's just so zen.
I don't know what's going on there. If he's feeding these guys like Quaaludes before the game, he's like every offense is just ready to go.
Like seriously, how do you get into just let's look at these last 2 games where we've had to have good drives at the end of the game. Like, how in the world is PJ Walker walking into the huddle to start those drives like,
Trust me, guys. We got this.
Trust me. Trust me. It's going to happen for us.
I did this.
Look at the rest of the game. It's going to happen.
I did this in the XFL. I can do it here.
Like, does he, like, the only route you go, I guess, is statistically. It has to work out. We've done really poorly the rest of the game. So, I mean, this is our shot.
I guess. Yeah.
I don't know what the speech is, but whatever it is, it's been phenomenal.
I hate to pick a quarterback as a player to watch, but because he's coming in an adverse situation and he's
He's undefeated as a starter.
Now the fans are starting to call for another quarterback, so that's an added layer to this thing.
Well, yeah, I just think like at some point, like, are we just going to deal all in with PJ Walker all season, or like is bad enough that we're like we got to do something? So that's what I'm curious to see.
Yeah, no, and I'll be honest with you, I'm right there. I have PJ Walker as well. It feels like a cop out, but I mean, it's true. We need to get better play out of him, or else we will be shopping for a new quarterback.
It feels like if he plays well, though, that they should win easily.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so, look, if we're going to have a shot at winning this game, and not only this game, the rest of the season, he's going to have to start. You can't continue to be just that lenient on our defense, or lean that much on our defense, I should say. He's yet to throw a touchdown pass, but he has thrown plenty of interceptions. He's got 3 of them. Granted, he's only been with the team for like 12 days. So, I mean, can he get more comfortable and do a better job in relief, or will we be shopping for that quarterback like we mentioned? I mean, I don't know. But either way, PJ Walker is my guy to watch this week. So I'm right there with you. And that takes us to King of the North. No. All right, so in case anyone doesn't know by now, this is our year-long AFC North Pick'em competition. At the end of the season, whoever comes in last gets punished. In the offseason, Kenny was lucky enough to get pelted with a gross of eggs thrown at him by fans in the Muni lot before a preseason game. We haven't figured out what this year's punishment is going to be. I know we're several weeks in, but we haven't figured it out.
Think about this.
Okay.
Whoever loses in a fat suit, but we fill it up with milk and cereal first.
That sounds awful.
I don't know what happens next.
How do you even... what are we going to do with you? We just fill you up with milk and cereal?
I'm not as big as a fat suit.
I'm sorry. I had to take the shot.
Like, what if John Greco-Roman wrestles one of us in a fat suit filled with milk and cereal?
I don't think he'd agree to that.
I won't pay him probably, but...
Now you're getting crazy.
Just send him a feeler.
All right, I'll see what we can do. So we've got potential for a punishment, but when we for sure nail down the punishment, we'll let you know.
Milk in a fat suit.
So first things first here, I want to remind everybody that I am still the reigning, defending King of the North.
Burger King.
Kenny, as always, just endlessly is in last place. And in case anyone hasn't been following along, we've added our trusty board op Bone Man to the competition this year. So let's remind everybody of those current records before we get to our picks. I am 9-11. Bone Man has tied me at 9-11. And Kenny, bringing up the rear, loves the rear, 8-12. It is close this year. None of us has been very good at picking games. So let's just go ahead and get into this week's slate. First of all, Cincinnati goes west to visit the 49ers. I'll start with this one. I've got the 49ers this one. I think they finally bounced back. I know that Cincinnati's a decent team, whatever. I think 2 wins or 2 losses in a row is enough for the 49ers. And actually, before I made this pick, Brock Purdy wasn't in concussion protocol. So should I do the old flip-flop like you guys like to do? No, I'm going to stick with the 49ers. I think Brock Purdy plays, and I think the 49ers win.
Brock Purdy doesn't know who he is. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Cincinnati coming off of a bye. I think Joe Burrow probably is as healthy as he's been all season.
That's a fair point.
I'll take Cincinnati.
And Bone Man, who you got?
Yeah, I agree with everything Kenny just said, but I don't see the 49ers losing 3 in a row. So at home, I'm going to take the 49ers.
Hell yes. Way to go, Bone Man. I'm glad you did. You guys were starting to swing me, and you were like, I agree with everything you said. And I was like, damn it, I'm going to have to switch my pick. But then you went with me, so I'm sticking with the 49ers. I'm still steadfast. Next up, Steelers play host to the Jaguars. Kenny, who you got?
Oh, God.
Kenny, who you got?
Yeah, so Steelers came off of a surprising win here against the Rams.
Wasn't that surprising? You and Bone both picked them.
Well, I think in general that they're just like no one's expecting the Steelers to be contending for the division this year, and yet they are. But the Jaguars, on the other hand, are a team that has a ton of expectations carried with them.
Living up to it so far.
I've seen some power rankings listed them as high as 3 in the entire league, not just the AFC. So, yeah, Trevor's played well. Travis Etienne is kind of a monster. And
who you got?
The Steelers just still suck. I'm going Jaguars.
Nice, you did it to him. And Bowman, who's your pick?
I got Jacksonville as well. I love ETN, man. I think he's a beast, and I hope he runs all over the Steelers and just trashes them.
It does feel like a Steelers trap game win, though. Like this feels like,
and they're 4-2, and they're like right there in the division, and it's like
the Jaguars should beat them, so that's a game they'll win.
Next up, the Ravens, like Cincinnati, will take a trip out west, but they visit the Cardinals. Bone Man, who's your pick?
I got to go Ravens. After the punishing beatdown of Detroit last week, I don't think the Cardinals are very good. Although is
not good.
Is Murray back?
He's supposed to be playing.
First game back, so
I think he's technically still not fully activated, but the last I had heard is he was expected to be upgraded to active roster and playing this week. So
yeah. I don't know. Lamar and Lamar and Mark Andrews seem to be connecting right now, and Lamar's playing great. So
yeah,
I'm going Ravens.
Okay.
Ravens continue to get healthy. Had a huge game last week, and whether Kyler plays or not, he's coming off a long time off. So I will go Baltimore in this game.
I mean, I think Kyler Murray could come back and play his balls off, and it wouldn't matter. I think the Ravens are going to win this game easy. So we'll move on. Finally, we have the Brownies. Our Brownies make a trip of their own out west, and they take on the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle at Lumen Field. I'll start this one off. I think this is another low-scoring game. Obviously, we don't have Deshaun Watson. I shouldn't say another low-scoring game. This last one was super high-scoring. It was 39-38. But I see this as a low-scoring game. I like Cleveland in this one to continue their winning streak, as much as I hate to say those words. And I have them winning 17-13. We'll go with Bone. Who you got?
This one hurts me. I haven't picked Cleveland to lose yet this year.
Are you going to do it?
I think I'm going to do it. I feel like the whole adage of playing in Seattle is tough, and I believe it really is tough to play in Seattle.
I don't know how. They don't even have tailgates.
I don't get that, but
how can you root for a team that doesn't have tailgates? You guys are weak.
The leads.
I feel like it'll still be a close game. I'll go 2017 Seattle.
Feels bad. You got the Browns losing a close one. That's where they shine with that defense. Kenny, what do you got?
Look, a couple of things on this game. We got backups playing all over the place on the offense.
We do. That's why I said it'll be low scoring.
And the good thing for the Browns is that this is not a 1:00 start time because they're in Seattle making the trip to the West Coast. It's a 4:05 start. So you don't have the weird body clock thing like a West Coast team coming here and playing at 1. So have time to get adjusted out there. Hopefully they leave a day early. I haven't heard or not whether or not they're going to do that or not, but hopefully they leave a day early, get adjusted to the time out there. And look, I think we just said PJ Walker has to play better at some point.
And I think he will. And that's my opinion. I'm not trying to sway you. I don't care who you pick.
But I think this is the week that he gets it done. I think the Browns have all the momentum here, winning 2 big games in the last 2 weeks, and spooky season. So Myles can come into the arena dressed as the grim fucking something, and he's going to be ready to blow his load all over this team. So
burying bodies,
just burying quarterbacks in the jar. I'll go Browns. Let's go hell. Let's have fun with it. Let's go 31-15.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. I just realized, we're almost done with this episode. I just realized that this actually isn't the Halloween week because that's next week. It's Tuesday of next week, not this week. So, anyways, you said 31-15 Browns?
Yes.
Hell yes. Let's go Cleveland! Browns! Let's go. Zach, you suck. Bone Man picked the Seattle Seahawks, and if the Browns win, we're going to shit all over them. Figuratively and literally.
I fully expect to be.
Absolutely. So once again, that takes us to the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. This is the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. You gotta call the hotline, the Hot Take Hotline for the Burning River Sportscast. Remember, these are hot takes.
We want hot takes.
Give us hot takes. 330-227-8080.
330-227-8080.
330-227-8080. Call now. Operators are
never
standing by. And be sure to check out our gear, www.thetapinmedia.com/shop. Go to show specific, go to Burning River Sportscast, and that's us, and you get our gear. That'll do it for us. Kenny, what can we expect next week?
We'll be recapping a huge win against the Seattle Seahawks, and
of course we will, because Bone Man picked them to lose.
Previewing the Browns' Week 9 matchup against the Arizona Cardinals, and we will interview another Browns backers chapter.
We're not sure yet. We have some scheduling conflicts, so we're still trying to nail that down. But we will have, regardless, another Browns backers chapter.
Yes,
I just don't know who it is.
Don't know who it is yet. But we do know who we're going to be talking to. The man who will be punting balls off of the back of the Cleveland Browns fan cruise
to the Dolphins.
To the Dolphins,
recently released, or the Orcas recently released from SeaWorld.
From SeaWorld.
Yeah.
Yet another Browns alumni, man who played for both the Browns and the Cardinals, Dave Zastadilla. We don't mention the fact that he played for the original Browns, the Ravens.
Ew.
I like that.
Yeah, I would never mention that. But he did play for the Cardinals, had his best year with them. But anyways, you could check us out on social media. Tapin Media is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Tapin Media. I'm Burning River Sportscast. That's this podcast is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Burning River Sportscast, and on X at Burning River Pod. You can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Podcast, Castro, Good Pods, and so many more. Do you know what that takes us to, Kenny?
Fact for days. All right. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. What do you got for me? What do you got? The
first thing is,
I want you to knock my socks off.
It is possible for something to be in two places at the same time.
If you stand on the border of a state?
Not like in...
If you go to four corners in the USA, you could be at 4 places at one time.
Not like a walk to remember. What I'm talking about is wave...
We are through.
Wave particle...
We are through forever.
Wave particle duality.
Okay, let's talk about it.
It's an example of superposition, which is a quantum object existing in multiple states at once. An electron, for example, is both here and there simultaneously. But it's only once we do an experiment to find out where that electron is we find whether it settles into one or the other. Basically, quantum physics is all about possibilities, probabilities.
That doesn't even make sense to me, but my mind is blown.
We can only say which state an object is most likely to be in once we look. We don't know, because it could be in both until you look.
That's incredible.
One of the listeners is going to understand this.
And they're going to be like, oh, that's a good fact. Yeah, good fact.
What's helpful in understanding
out of all of our listeners, one of them will understand what you just said.
Most people have heard the idea of like Schrodinger's cat. Have you ever heard the
is it in the box or is it not in the box?
Is it in the box or not? That's superposition, right? So only once we look in the box.
You only know once you look.
Do we know if the cat is alive or dead in the box?
So technically the cat is in both states at once.
At the same time.
But it's not actually. That's where I get confused.
But
it's not actually. But it's not because it's whether we know or not. It's either in there or it's not.
Look, this is quantum mechanics. This is science. It is. It has to be in both the box or not in the box. Number 2.
These theories are what give science a bad name. Anyways, go on.
Number 2. The sun is not hot because there's a massive fire on it. Rather, it is hot because of its immense weight.
Well, yeah, it's real heavy.
Thus, its gravitational pull is enormous, putting it under tremendous pressure and causing nuclear fusion.
Oh, wow.
So, if the sun were made out of bananas, but at the same colossal weight, it would still be just as hot.
Well, hot damn. You get it?
To further support this idea, according to the theory of relativity, mass and energy are the same thing and interchangeable. So
obviously, everybody knows that.
So if you put more energy in an object moving at the speed of light, it wouldn't go faster, but the extra energy required is needed to handle the increasing mass of the object. So what that means is quantum physics suggests that Usain Bolt weighs more on the track than on a scale.
That's incredible.
That's wild.
Now that's a good theory.
And then finally, number 3. The European woman named Leah Schuttkever. Nice name.
Yeah, that's cool.
Recently took on a cheesy challenge and set a world record by devouring a whopping 500 grams of mozzarella cheese in just 1 minute and 2.34 seconds.
You could beat that.
Whoa. That is 33 seconds faster than the original world record.
I bet you could beat it.
I imagine she's not taking the time to pull apart her string cheese.
No, she was just shoving blocks of cheese.
I like how Bone Man just assumes it was string cheese that she was eating. And actually, I take it back. You could not beat that because you're the slowest eater I've ever met in my life.
I'm a slow eater. This woman holds 33 world records and also holds the title of world's fastest burrito eater.
Oh, okay. She is the cheese.
But if you're interested in checking this out, all you do is type in like cheese eating girl because she's like viral right now. You just watch this girl.
She is the cheese.
Shove all the cheese in her mouth over the course.
We talked to Logo Girl. Now we got to talk to Cheese Girl.
Get her on the horn. Let's get her on the horn.
I gotta meet this Cheese Girl.
We need Cheese Girl now.
Oh man.
We need Cheese Girl now.
We need
Cheese Girl now.
Eating that much cheese.
Cheese Girl now
Would make it really hard to poop.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, dang, she's gonna take one ginormous dump.
It's gonna be bad. That sounds like a problem.
Don't just be a part of the problem, be the whole damn problem. Just like my shirt says, find it at tapmedia.com/shop.
Yeah, and only you can prevent river fires.
Burning Rivers Sportscast! Burning Rivers! All the cheeses!
Burning River.
So much cheese.
Burning River.
Burning River!
Sportscast.
Burning River!
Burning River Sportscast. Burning River.
Burning River!
The Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River!
Thank you for joining us on the Burning River Sportscast.
I broke our desk. This isn't good. If you eat that much cheese, you will poop a lot.
No, you won't poop at all.
No, you won't. It'll be blocked up for days.
Be stuck.
It'll eventually come out, though. It has to. What comes in must go out.
Yeah.
Good night, Cleveland.
Good night, Cleveland.
Unless there's a complete blockage.
That would be awful.
Browns fan cruise and the Burning River Sportscast. What better combination could you possibly think of?
Motorboat? You play the motorboat? You motorboat son of a bitch. You old sailor, you.
In general, I would agree with you. There have been some weird things that have derailed like certain seasons for him. I mean,
True.
He hit Mason Rudolph with a helmet once.
That was bad.
That was bad ass.
My name is Uhtred, son of Uhtred.
Figured it out.
Think about this.
Okay.
Whoever loses in a fat suit, but we fill it up with milk and cereal first.
By the way, I want my foreskin back.
Listen, you can touch me all the time. I think it was the Rocky Horror Picture Show that she said, touch me, touch me, touch me. So that's basically, I'm going to get a shirt that says, touch me. Yeah, it might not. It's not going to say "feel me." It's going to just say "touch me."
The other one, the finger eating food fingers.
The weather outside is weather.
All I do is win, no matter what.
What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny? Erroneous on both counts. Oh Lord.
Wow.
But damn.
The leads are weak. The leads are weak. Fucking leads are weak. You're weak. I've been in this business 15 years. What's your name? You, that's my name. You know why, mister? Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That's my name.
Where's Logo Girl when you need her?
I desperately want to make love to a
Cheese
We
Girl.
need Cheese Girl now.
Oh, man.
We need Cheese Girl now.
Eating
we
that
need
much
Cheese Girl now.
Eating that
we
much
need
cheese.
Cheese Girl now.
No,
Who's canceled now? Who's canceled now?
Probably me.
You making fun of fat people?
I'm not. Just you.
We're a whole race, basically.
Down goes Anderson! Down goes Anderson!
No way. You just finger bang their salad. What?
You first get shocked, and then you get the shocker.
Today's episode was brought to you by Towpath Vodka. Towpath Vodka, an award-winning, ultra-premium, extremely smooth, high-quality vodka. 6 times distilled and made from Midwest corn and Ohio fruit. Clean and crisp, a truly high-quality spirit made right here in Northeast Ohio. Available locally in Northeast Ohio and online in 44 states. Towpath Vodka.
Hey Browns fans, this is your chance to join the company of some of the Browns' all-time greats on the first ever Browns fan cruise. Picture this. For 5 unforgettable days, you're sailing across the beautiful Caribbean Sea, reliving the Browns' greatest moments, getting autographs, snapping photos, and celebrating on the beach with your favorite Browns alumni, like Josh Cribbs, Webster Slaughter, Eric Metcalf, and a dozen others. Book now and take advantage of our easy, budget-friendly payment plans on this once-in-a-lifetime, all-inclusive cruise adventure. The clock's ticking, Browns fans. To book your cabin and for more information, visit brownsfancruise.com or call 216-284-6472 today. Browns Fan Cruise, where diehard fans and Browns alumni come together for the trip of a lifetime. Don't wait, secure your spot today, and go Browns!